rookie.
Foundation Festival. Tradition. How do I go prone? Which button? Shh, press Z.
No control.
I pressed everything. It's not working.
Get down!
Guys, which button do I press to get up? Which button do I press to get up?
Alt F4.
Meet Steve. It's his first day on the job after passing his Atlas Operator certification. This is Edwards. After 36 years of a successful cargo foreman career, he's ready to retire. And this is Bob, your everyday hauler. Bob doesn't give a shit. Bob is too busy reading a funny post online.
Ah, no.
Hi there, I'm Scooter Lee Scooter from the beautiful Brio's Breaker Yard on Damer. Now, some people think Brio's is still a rough and tumble kind of place, but that just ain't true, Bo. Brio's is a safe
There's
environment
no
with fun
parking
for the
there.
whole family. And we don't just sell gently used spaceships, we also do ship repairs, ship detail, and ship paints, and even weapon swaps. So when you need your next ship upgrade, you come on down and you tell Scooter Scooter sent you. Y'all have a good evening.
¿Portón de qué? Huevos.
Just a cold breath on your neck. When the light comes back, you're already gone.
Bueno, ya tenemos la visita aquí del primer bot. Aquí ya podemos empezar a practicar cómo deshacernos de ellos. Hola, Pau. ¿Tú sí no eres bot o sí? Esta es otra. Banear. Ay, sí se puede banear desde acá. Pero porque no veo a Chivón, no sé qué carajos. Me toca entrar a la página de Kik. Entonces, ¿qué? ¿Nos viene o no? Sí, Pao. Ella se llama Paoya. La Paoía. Debería quitarse el Sir y ponerse el IA. 10 minutos para el día más importante de Star Citizen. Uy, voy a ir por el agua que la tengo enfriando. Ojalá no haya congelado. Fue camina. Quizá juguetes. Sí, el micrófono está abierto. No tengo pruebas, pero tampoco dudas. ¿De qué me perdí? Pues si hoy dicen mucha cosa. El de Luis era cuando compré la 8. Ah, bueno, el día más importante, sí. Cuando compré la 890, sí. Este sería un buen día. Para luego decepcionar si no volverla a sacar. Que así pasa con muchas naves de este juego. Pero se me está desapareciendo el chat. No me gusta eso. Pero yo hago modificaciones. Se me está desapareciendo el chat. Y no quiero que se desaparezca. Fade no. Nada de fade. Creo que así es suficiente. Vamos a poner un fantasmita. ¿Qué puede hablar en el chat? Eso. Vamos a ver si se desaparece. Porque no quiero que desaparezca. Porque tiene miedo con la 890. A ver, me salió barata. Me salió 80.000 pesos. Devaluados colombianos. Y esperar. Entonces, realmente si de pronto me llega a decepcionar, pues... Igual para lo que tenemos planeado, yo creo que funciona. Sin ninguna duda. Entonces, pues no, realmente mucho miedo, no. Ah, bueno, de que me la quiten. Ya, yo creo que no me la quitan. A mí me están quitando todas las naves que engaño. Y esa nave no se va a engañar. Y la Prowler voy a ver si la consigo con créditos del juego. Y esa Prowler, como ya viene engallada, no creo que tampoco me la quiten. Sería como las dos naves que yo más deseo en el juego. Tengo ganas de otra nave, pero es una nave grande de combate. O sea, así tipo Polaris, pero no quiero una Polaris porque ya se pasa de grande y de estorbosa. El tema es que ahora la única nave de combate que hay es la Hammerhead. Hablando así como tipo semicapital. Y pues ya la Hammerhead la tiene el enano. Igual no me gusta tanto la Hammerhead. Porque es que realmente la Hammerhead es anticuadita en términos, digamos, visuales. O sea, ella por fuera es muy bonita, por fuera. Pero por dentro es anticuada. Los interiores de la nave son anticuados. Seguramente la vayan a cuadrar. Exacto. Pues teóricamente, pero porque he escuchado que han habido naves de Wicklow que han desaparecido. Entonces tampoco hay mucha garantía. Ah, bueno, sí. Sí, toca grabar todo el momento en la que se reclame la Prowler y ya con eso uno pelea con ellos. Exacto, entonces me imagino que ya cuando le hagan el remake a la Hammerhead va a quedar una nota. Pero por ahora me parece un poco anticuado. Desde ahí queda la que va a ser la nave del pueblo, la Perseo. Que por el momento sale y hay que esperar 6 meses para conseguirla. Pero sí quisiera una navecita así que en la que todos pudiéramos atar y que fuera de combate. O sea, que fuera buena para dar bala. En este momento no hay. Pero a excepción de una Polaris. Pero una Polaris necesita muchísima gente. Digamos nosotros 3 en una Polaris. La estamos tirando a la basura. Nosotros 3 en una Hammerhead también estamos regular. Pues sería... no sé si jugar torreta la de arriba. Hay que mirar cómo son las torretas de esa nave. Yo no sé. No sé si el enano ya ha mirado cuál es, o sea, la torreta que tiene encima, si tiene torreta debajo, creo que sí. ¿Cómo son esas torretas? Porque si son por lo menos cada una tiene 4 cañones, no sé, S3, S4. Es que esa es la cagada, que las laterales sean las buenas. Aunque pues sería, digamos, uno que conduzca y uno se hace en una lateral y el otro se hace en la otra lateral, una vaina así. Y sería de pronto como en diagonal. Pero la TAC solo tiene 2 cañones S5 en los laterales. O sea, de tan combate no es la TAC. O sea, que no te dijéramos, vamos a hacer las patrullas que naranjas o rojas. No, la TAC no da. No suenan. O sea, muy diferente como estaba pasando con la Polaris. Me hago entender. Entonces, la Hammerhead podría funcionar, pero necesita, o sea, para asegurar la victoria necesitamos gente. Por ahora lo que sería es poner alguien que conduzca, alguien en la torreta superior derecha y alguien en la torreta inferior izquierda. Por si nos están rotando, pues digamos el que pase por detrás, pues se choca con la torreta que de atrás. Y si está por el frente, pues el que está adelante.
One day.
Ah, pero por más grande que sea la nave, uno termina aprendiéndosela. Yo me he montado 3 veces en una Polaris y yo ya sé cómo andarla. Yo ya sé ir a la cosa médica, ya sé ir a las torretas, ya sé ir al puente, que es lo importante. Es más laberinto la 890, pero es porque la estructura de ella es más para que uno esté yendo, digamos, a lugares sociales. Entonces ella no tiene como un corredor principal y un hub central, aunque más o menos sí lo tiene, pero digamos que es más desorganizada porque está pensada de otra manera, es un hotel. Y realmente a ella la vamos a sacar jugo es porque alguien la va a volar, eso tiene un escudo brutal y vamos a montar tanques. 1 o 2 tanques. Ya sea que cada uno se monte en un tanque y empiece a echar bala desde él o algo así. O sea, ya ahí va la creatividad que vayamos a tener al momento de usar la 890. Bueno, 1 minuto 44. Se viene. Se viene. Será como los directos de Sony, que se acaba este contador y luego ponen 5 minutos de propagandas culas. Y recortan el directo a más misterio. Hombre, ojalá la mitad. O sea, 1 hora sea humo y 1 hora no sea humo. Ahí ya tenemos calidad. Ahí ya tenemos cosas chéveres. Por ejemplo, que muestren nits que no están humo. De pronto fabricación. Pero que, o sea, que dejen de mostrar bocetos, imágenes, videos pregrabados, sino cosas bien gameplay. Que solo muestren lo que ya tengan internamente en pruebas. El tema es que NITS es otro sistema solar. Pues aquí cambiando un poco de tema, NITS es otro sistema solar tipo Pyro.
This year has marked a turning point in Star Citizen's history. We have
Arrancó
finally
esto.
moved past the question of whether we can build an architecture to deliver a universe with incredible detail at massive scale, seamlessly, and where thousands of people can all play together. Server meshing has been working pretty much flawlessly
Están hablando
at
del
scale
server
for the
meshing.
past 9 months. It has brought a more populated and active verse with up to 700 players online and in the same space at once. It's greatly increased server performance and delivered a much more responsive player experience. I couldn't be prouder of the team. They delivered something no other online game does presently.
Espera la construcción. A ver. ¿Qué está hablando del server meshing, pues? De lo que han logrado, de que mucha gente pueda jugar junta.
Of course, there will be continued improvements to server meshing and to Star Engine, but having moved past this last big technological hurdle has allowed us to finally focus on quality of life and stability improvements, something that has long been overdue.
Está hablando de lo que pasó este año, prácticamente.
With content that has brought Star Citizen storytelling into new and exciting directions. We pushed more than 24 features and more than 2,000 bug fixes. And while there is still a long way to go, the game has gotten more stable, performant, and fun as a result. We see this in player metrics. More of you play every day. The daily average users is up 45% from last year, and your play time is up 15%. So more people venture out into the verse and stay there longer than ever before. And through all that, we've told the dual stories of the Frontier Fighters Assault on Pyro and the moral compromises.
Bueno, ya está hablando del final de la historia de Pyro,
for the time being, it's time to look forward to
que es lo que viene en la
where
4.3.2.
the instability in Pyro and the callous actions of some pave the way to new adventures, new locations, and new threats. Last year, we announced our next star system would be Nyx, home to the People's Alliance of Levski and bordering the Vandal threat. Today, we're proud to share that your adventures in Nyx begin not next year, but next month. And Star Citizen
Nyx en noviembre.
is online in Alpha 4.4. 2 new systems in
4.4.
1 year. That's only possible because of the tireless work of our development teams, server meshing accelerating what's possible, the support teams behind the scenes, and most importantly, all of you. Now, I do miss that we're not all together under one roof this year, but in many ways, we're more connected than ever. Across the globe, many of you are gathering at watch parties, 9 of them with our developers in attendance, and countless others springing up in communities everywhere, and all happening simultaneously today. So even if we're separated by oceans and continents, we're bound together by the same passion for space, for discovery, and for this incredible universe we're building together. Whether you're at home or alongside your crew at a watch party, grab a drink, sit back, and let us take you
Ahí fue
inside
toda
our
la
upcoming
introducción.
plans
Lo
for the
importante
next
es,
year of
hizo un
Star
resumen del año de este año. donde se dedicaron al server meshing y a la estabilidad y al gameplay como tal, a que el juego funcionara bien y que pudieran meter bastante gente junta en cada servidor. Y por último, NITS en noviembre. Y esa es una de las estaciones de NITS. Eso ya lo habían mostrado, ese hueco. ¿Oh? Vamos a ver NITS, hijos de madre. Aunque NITS es pequeño, realmente son 3 planetas. Lo importante de NITS es que tiene dos cinturones de asteroides que son como que muy densos. Inclusive NITS es, haga de cuenta, es como llegar a Checkmate y tiene como una nebulosa o una cosa de sombras muy marcada, entonces es difícil navegar en él.
The content development of the game is no longer restricted, allowing us to forge ahead with building out our first 5-star systems. Nyx will see the much-loved Levski landing zone
Algo así.
added back to the verse, while also bringing you one of its most iconic landmarks, the Glacian Belt. Here, you'll experience a new combined arms operation that will introduce new factions and new adventures for you to discover. With this edition of our 3rd star system, we're also going to do something that's at the heart of the
Faltarían
entire
2
system.
sistemas solares para la
That is
1.0.
to build it right in front of you.
Pues para uno de
As
los
we've
objetivos de
done
la
this year,
1.0.
with the addition of several major locations, such as the Hathor facility or the Lazarus complex, we will continue to unveil new Nyx content throughout the year.
Va a tener ubicaciones y eventos tipo Lázaro y tipo Hathor van a poner en NITS.
And shows our intent as we continue our march towards 1.0. I'm so incredibly proud of the work our teams have done and are continuing to do, and we're excited to have you on this next step of our journey. And as with any journey in Star Citizen, that begins with a little story.
Ok. La pequeña historia para introducir a NITS.
In 2025, we introduced 2 major storylines spanning multiple patches, creating a living backbone for adventure across the universe. The first was Pyramus Burn. It connected Stanton to
La historia de Pyro y me
and
imagino que la
introduced the
historia
Frontier
de
Fighters,
la
who are
regeneración.
relentless, brutal, and determined to wipe out any threats that cross them. And with this month's release, you'll now take part in the conclusion to that storyline. The second was Science Run Amok, with the Regen Crisis throwing the Empire into chaos, and you all jumping in to help the various corporations respond. Through that journey, we pulled back the curtain on ASD and its shady practices, uncovering long-forgotten Onyx facilities, and met new characters like Dr. Logan Yorit and Detective Arkham Mella of the Hokro Agency. And just like the Pyramus Burn storyline carried us into a new system, Science Run Amok is now setting the stage for Nyx, the next step in the larger story we're telling on the road to 1.0. As this new chapter of Star Citizen begins, let's hear from just a few of the team members working to bring this next era of our universe to life.
La fuerza está chimba, pero si siempre va a ser un man hablando, va a ser pesadita de ver. Bueno, ya, por fin imágenes.
When the Nyx system was first discovered, the United Empire of Earth, the UAE,
Entonces
came
es una
out with
terra,
scans and kind of found out that the system wasn't really worth settling. The planets were too hard to terraform, the resources were too tough to get, so they opened it up. And one company saw opportunity where the UE didn't, QV Planet Services. And so they expanded into the system and tried to mine as much as they could, making a very slim margin by the sheer quantity of resources they were pulling out.
The system itself sort of ran its course from sort of a large corporate interest perspective, and then was mostly left abandoned.
Now this ended up being the
Sí, por los asteroides sí, me imagino que por ser lejos porque tienes que pasar por Pyro para poder llegar a NITS. Entonces ahí ya están empezando a generar esos viajes largos. Me imagino que todos los minerales de NITS van a ser súper valiosos.
So they went to the next system and established what became known as Levski. They wanted to make it everything that the UEE wasn't at this time.
They set up what they saw as their ideal society, where everyone's voices would be heard, where everyone would be equal. But they've fallen onto hard times. So Nix today is kind of at an interesting point in its history. Now that the UEE has kind of transformed itself into a democratic society, what is
Y eso es lo chévere. Y toca pasar el sistema solar pirata. Me imagino que ya con eso van a estar la gente super pilas monitoreando los gateway y toda cosa. O sea, ya empieza a ver como chicha, como movimiento. Sí, toca pasar dos huecos de gusano. Y hay que ver si el agujero de gusano entre Pyro y Nix es diferente.
Making a star system is you approach it from kind of two angles in a weird way. What is this system bringing to the gallery? How does this new system plug into it, and what does it bring to the table from a sort of a flavor experience?
Okay, dicen que es lo que va a traer.
Bringing to the company is unique and has some flair to it.
So the Nix system is a remote system
Dale, no eres feliz, Carrack.
free outside of the pressure and influence of the UEE. It's a remote and rugged system with a lot of hostility coming from the ever-present threat of Vanduul.
It's kind of like a frontier-esque thing. It's not lawless like Pyro. It's
Bueno,
just
como
kind
que hay mucha presencia de los bandos.
Pyro's more like a Mad Max wasteland.
Vamos a tener
Nix is more like Silverado or like Deadwood, right? It's kind
otras
of
razas alienígenas.
scope.
The emptiness and the loneliness is the defining factor. You're still going to find gangs, you're still going to find hostile presences, but it's where people go if they want to live off the grid.
The People's Alliance is the main peacekeeping force in Nix.
They were unhappy with the direction that the Empire was going under the.
Pues que el estafador es un bandul.
They said we're just
Ah,
going
no, él es un bandul.
build our own society.
Ay, cállate,
build it
mierda.
the way that we think it needs to be built.
They're not perfect. They're just people.
No, él es un
but
bandul,
they're
¿no?
doing their best. They want to help keep Nix safe and make it prosper.
They are trying to do the best that they can, but are faced with the realities of dealing with people, which is tricky.
The Pyro star is quite a warm star. Stanton star is quite neutral. And the Nix is a little bit cooler. The system has its star, and it has this dark, really, really dense gas
Lo que les decía.
cloud.
Estrella
Points of
y
light
una
scattered around it, and those points of light in this gas cloud is.
y una nube de gas muy densa, o sea, que no deja ver.
So because Nix is bordering Vanduul space, it was important that we have a gap in the Nix gas cloud where you could sort of just, in between the clouds, see a piece of the Vanduul space. It feels so close that it's even like protruding some red light. The level designers are using it as an actual visual indicator of where to place more dangerous POIs. So if you point your ship in the direction of it, you should find, as we build it out, that you will be...
Y a la carrera organizan el tema de estabilizar los agujeros, ahí sí la consigo para transporte.
To give more atmosphere,
Ahí le están dando mucho protagonismo.
adding some sort of space snowflakes, essentially. So when you look towards the sun, you can sort of see that sort of like sparkle. But then when you look away from the sun, you'll see the reflections and sort of like little glints of light.
Bueno, y qué pena, gente. Yo voy a aprovechar y. ¡Ay! ¿Y
For
cómo?
the jump points in Nix, we'll have 2 on this release. We'll have one from Pyro to Nix and one from Stanton to Nix.
Ah, la cagaron.
It should be going from Nix to Castra, but we're essentially bypassing Castra temporarily.
Hey, we want to make sure you can get there any way you want.
Ah, la cagaron.
Glacier Belt is...
Va a haber gateway desde Stanton a Nix y desde Pyro a Nix. O sea, están haciendo como una especie de red de telaraña, pero no. Me hubiera gustado que hubieran obligado a hacer el viaje largo.
We already had the asteroid fields we use for planetary rings and the gas clouds, and it's combining them to make something completely new that we've just not seen before.
It's full of resources that are still left unharvested because it's kind of a tricky spot for mining. It's not the easiest place to go, but that means that there's still a lot of opportunity for independent miners to go out there.
So the rocks in Nyx are
pero...
sharp, like sort of like icy look, rocky, cliff-like, very different from those in the Pyro and the Stanton.
One of the big differences too is all of that extra added movement that just adds a little bit of extra flair.
It's also a good hiding spot for people who are trying to elude capture, maybe set up ambushes, that type of stuff.
Always feel way more interesting flying in those spaces than just, empty void.
And as we build out the Glacium Belt over the next year, lots of places to put new content.
Va a tener poquitos planetas, según lo que dice, pero ese cinturón de asteroides que van a poner mucha cosa en ellos, o sea, va a haber mucho contenido en el cinturón de asteroides. Pues está muy bonito, la verdad, o sea, lo que se ve está bonito.
Social outpost for Nyx.
It's kind of like the place where you stop before you do your panning.
Que le haga remake a la mole.
San Francisco before you got to the gold rush.
No, la mole está bien como está.
It's going to be the central hub for trade and hauling and all of the commerce within Nyx and also from Nyx to other systems. But it does have a CD underlayer to it.
Over the years, you're sort of improving the generation method of those asteroids to culminate towards this specific point to make large, explorable location. When you fly towards the Levski, you see this huge gas ring.
Nos van a poner a explorar un cinturón de asteroides.
Mid-sized pieces of the asteroids.
Well, Levski is immediately apparently unique by the fact that it's a facility clamped onto the side of an asteroid. The breathtaking views of looking into the belt instantly gives it a unique charm and flavor.
As you approach, you'll initially see a very dramatic borehole that goes all the way through the asteroid.
No van a ver más wipe.
Growing out from there and along
hasta la 1.
Levski, there will be landing pads along what I'd call the spine. Lots of industrial pipes and transport systems to bring out the refined mining materials when it was a mining station.
Before we were using an actual planet, so we had all of the space available to place all of these structures. But now it kind of meant that we had to create an asteroid which has the appropriate size.
If we took the whole shot of the asteroid, you will see that there is an area to fly underneath. We plan on bringing in hull C gameplay, so this is exterior cargo elevators, so as a team you will be able to load and unload cargo.
More movement on the exterior, such as the cargo trains going around tracks. It's now going to be fully EVA-able. There will be walkways around the main landing zone to walk on using gravity plates, but you can drift off and kind of go wherever you want.
La estación va a ser en gravedad cero.
Explore fully the whole place, which is great.
Unlike the majority of anarchists living in Pyro, there are people here in Nyx that care.
It's not a downtrodden or derelict, dilapidated location. It has a sense of order.
But only where the People's Alliance has people living.
We've had Levski before, and we've updated it quite substantially to be more in line with the newer features that have been put in since, but also visually, and there's been a lot of quality of life fixes that we've wanted to add and bring up to like a good standard for a landing zone.
Gracing the main lobby of Levski is a large statue of Anthony Tanaka, who was a child worker.
And was being worked to death, all of them were, and Anthony Tanaka just had a break and just said no. and stood up against the foremen, the supervisors, the managers, the guards, and was killed for it. And so he became a sort of a figurehead.
And kind of was one of the linchpin moments in seeing the fall of the Messer regime.
So if you take the elevator up to the top deck, you'll see the top view and the cargo area as well. So you can go through the cargo shop. You've got your normal kind of cargo needs. You'll have ability to trade and buy your tractor beam and other gear that you need. So if you were to die in the Nyx system, then one of the places you might come out from is the hospital in Levski, which is called the Mercy Hospital.
So Mercy Hospital is just basically, it's a local med station for all the residents of Levski, anybody traveling through the system. Again, they're trying to provide as good medical help for people as they can.
When you arrive at the Habs location, you'll be presented with a lobby, elevator bank, and then you will take that transit to the Hab room. So within that room will be pods.
And that's where the original miners would have lived. They're not the nicest, and they're a bit messy, but they're a home for people in Levski.
No son Pyro,
If you head down to the
pero tampoco es tanto. Está como en un punto medio.
Into the Grand Barter, which is your main social and commercial area of Levski.
This is where you will see market sellers selling their wares.
O sea, se parece más, la estación es más como tirando a Greenheads.
Shop, and also conscientious objects, which for weapons. There's also one of my favorite places, Café Musée.
Que son piratas, pero no tanto.
Into some of the more
No tan bestia como Pyro. Entonces no es como tanta
you never know who you meet.
lo chatarra o lo reciclado del lugar.
If you explore
Como
a bit
pasa en
more around
Pyro.
the Grand Barter, there's other routes around and little side passages. There's another shop that's away from that area called Teachers.
Teach a Ship is basically where you would go if you were looking to pick up a used ship, buy some ship parts, fix up your old ship, find some new stuff, sell some scrap.
We've closed up Dumpers Depot for Levski, and everything that used to be sold there will now be sold at Teachers. Another new area, as well as the cargo shop that we've added, is the refinery deck for Levski. That's where you can take your processed goods, not just from Levski, but from the rest of the Nyx system, and refine and sell those goods there. As a lot of the content in the next coming releases for Nyx is going to be mining related. So it's super important that Levski is a really nice hub.
El primer contenido que va a tener Onyx va a ser relacionado con pura minería. O sea, a usted que le gustó tanto la minería, ese va a ser su sistema solar. Pásese a ir allá.
Provided a unique environment of it's run down, but the people who live there love it and are working their hardest to make it a great place to live.
This is a location that has a lot of nostalgia for you guys, and we don't want this just to be a re-release. We do want
Es que vea Greenheads.
Wow. It's not going to be as complete as Pyro was when it first came out, but it's going to be our first iteration, and you're going to be able to see it grow as we work on it.
Like with everything, we're always learning and improving and finding new ways.
I mean, is there anything more Star Citizen than just building the system while the players watch us build it around them?
It's going to add a nice dynamic to Stanton and be a much more calming of style system than Pyro.
The people that would have played it before are going to love to see this come back, and the people that haven't seen it before, it's going to be a great new location.
This is the first time that I'm going to be able to touch stuff and kind of bring my own content to the game, and that's really exciting to me.
Levski coming back into the game is a huge milestone personally for me. So I worked on the original quite some time ago, so seeing it come back and updated and improved and better is fantastic. So we've talked about Levski, we've talked about the Glacian Belt, but you're probably asking yourself, what's the new gameplay activity we're going to be doing? So let's find out.
Welcome to Nyx is
Bueno,
our
nueva
first
actividad.
experience in a new space station in a new solar system.
It's a mystery to be solved. There's things for the player to explore and look into. There's going to be some twists and turns, of course, some combat, and if you're lucky enough to survive, maybe some good rewards.
This is basically a continuation of kind of our ASD storyline. So in the closing out what we had called our Science Run Amok storyline,
O sea, Nyx tiene relación con
that ASD had been procuring
con todo lo de la ASD, o sea, todo lo de Onyx.
So this mission is basically going to be continuing on that trail.
So the Navy has learned that illegal tech is being sold in the UAE, and they're hiring Intersect to investigate. Intersect Defense Solutions is the leading military defense contractor in the UAE. So the Navy contracts with them a lot for doing various kind of military operations that they don't want to handle themselves. We didn't want players to be working directly for the Navy. The Navy just doesn't call up random citizens and ask like, hey, if you're free, can you fly a helicopter? I guess as a player, when you can think about like, oh, where am I going to be doing missions that are capital ship battles or large fleet scale stuff or military operations, that's all going to come from Intersect Defense Solutions. Intersect have discovered the source of the illegal tech is in the Nyx system and an old abandoned QV Planet Services logistics station that's come back online.
So they want the players to figure out what's going on.
So when you come out of Quantum and you start your approach vector to the objective, you'll be weaving through asteroids, going through the Glacian Belt, and slowly the station will reveal itself. Now this is an old QV logistics station. It's pretty beat up, it's pretty derelict, but there's some points of interest that you'll spot as you go through. So the station itself shares design cues from old Pan Am stations found in Pyro. This architectural design found its way over to the Nyx system as the system was being established. But you'll also see some additional design cues that QV Planetary Services were adding, so it's a nice transition architectural point. It's fairly skeletal in design. You'll see logistics yards and cargo yards, but also facilities pinned inside the asteroid, creating this network of facilities. You'll notice there's a Polaris near the main hub. It's not a normal Polaris. It's damaged, it's broken. It's not a standard corporate Polaris. So at this point, you should be asking yourself, who does this belong to? Away from the Polaris, you'll see
Nos van a poner a elevar una Polaris.
Now these asteroid bases are locked, so you don't know exactly what's inside just yet. But all of this comes together to form the playground for the mission to take place. So not only is this facility unabandoned, but it's also under attack from a surprising but familiar foe.
Oh, que la Polaris se come la Hammerhead. Un torpedo y chao. Bueno, nos van a introducir los de Escuadrón 42. Los Vandal.
For the first time in the PU, the Vandal.
So the Vandal are a nomadic, very, very, very violent spacefaring race.
They've been striking out.
Espera, y muestra la Guardian.
Don't really know what they want, don't know why they're doing it, but it seems like whoever's running the station is really pissed them off.
Vandal raiding parties have been arriving in the system, and they're unaffiliated to any clan. With small groups coming in and picking at them. But as time goes on, those raids have getting bigger and more frequent.
They'll be the scythes that you're familiar with, glaives and blades that we all know and hate, and a new craft for the PU, the Vandal Stinger.
Vandal Stinger. Esa que están mostrando.
You will be contacted by some civilians.
¿Y será de las 6 naves que están haciendo ellos sin anunciar?
Mission over, or join the fight. This will be the first time since the PU launch that you'll be able to fight against Vandal aggressor ships.
This fight will be intense. The player should be able to deal with them, but they will have to be prepared and they'll have to come back in to fight off this initial wave, and that won't be the end of it.
After you
Escuchado qué?
ships, the mysterious inhabitants of the station invite you to come on board.
Which Intersect sort of will encourage you to do because it'll help further their investigation against what's happening here, why
Let's
the
think it.
stations have come back online.
You dock your ship, you board the station, and it turns out the inhabitants here have a real surprise for you.
The player will be immediately ambushed. These guys are not your friends.
Of course, it's not going to be easy.
Ah, es
because
similar
the
a...
inhabitants are going to fight you every step of the way.
The fight will be challenging, but this definitely will be...
Es como una Onyx, pero siendo una estación.
Getting a sense of
Fuera de un planeta.
is going on there, who these new people are.
Es más como Hathor, esto que están mostrando acá.
Wielding unfamiliar weapons, and we want you to get a sense that you are in a new place, in a new territory, fighting a new faction.
So after you survive this initial ambush, you get back in touch with Intersect, and obviously the question is, who are these people? Why are they attacking? Why are the Vandal attacking them?
At this point, there's more going on here than anyone thought. The director from Intersect is to explore the station and...
Oiga, esta carnaval a Citizen, o sea, da media hora y
Along the way,
no están mostrando humo. O sea, esto en un mes
It's not
lo
just the
estamos
space
jugando.
station. There's the disabled capital ship. There's asteroid bases nearby with obvious installations there, other forces that the Vandal have been attacking. There's a debris field.
Explore the locations in any order you want and try to find out who these people are and why the Vandal are after them.
You'll find new clues. You'll find ways to solve the puzzle of what's going on at the space station.
Sí, es como una Onyx.
Find out what kind of loot they
En lo,
have
en lo denso.
now that you beat them.
Es una Onyx,
And of
pero
course, this
contra
is a
Vandals.
legally open station, so anything you find is yours to keep and sell, maybe even give to Wicklow.
Ya nombraron al estafador.
This isn't just a one-time event, this is a permanent sort of mission that we're going to be adding to the game.
You can go back and repeat this mission and find ways to do it even better, even faster.
There'll be a different story and different flavor. Obviously, we can't have this.
Esa es la camisa blanca, lo han puesto a trabajar horas extras.
To you, based on the evidence that you found.
Now you know the real story, and you can start digging and giving more information to Intersect along the way.
Sí, es otro Onyx, es otro evento, otra misión que empieza uno llegando a la estación. En la estación te van a atacar los bandos. Cuando logres matar a la mayoría, digámoslo así, aterrizas y es una dungeon con los bandos, la cual te van a hacer repetir porque va a dar materiales para Wicklow.
Where you get to fight the Vandal swarm, and being able to do that in the PU is going to be, I think, a heck of a lot of fun.
So this marks a great milestone for us for not only pushing hard and adding great content this year, we're also being able to introduce the next star system and introducing the next landscape to tell new stories and add new gameplay beats into the ever-expanding universe. So we'll leave 4.4 there.
Sí, o sea, es como un híbrido entre Onyx y Hathor.
Great work that all the teams have been doing this year. And I'll be right back in just a
Siendo más PvE.
ahead at some of the things coming in 2026.
Bueno, ya vienen las cosas del año entrante.
Hello, everyone.
Ahora viene el humo.
Welcome to the Voyager Bar in beautiful scenic Orizon, where the staff of Cloud Imperium Games Manchester is gathered for their very own CitizenCon Direct watch party. As the dozens of such events happening at locations around the world, we've gathered today to watch this sneak peek at just a little of what the
Ya el
next
perfil
year's
de
Star
gente que le
Citizen
gusta
has
Star
in store
Citizen,
for
puros
everyone.
nerdos.
That was really good, everybody. I'm Jared Huckabee, your host for the festivities and for the show today. And let me tell you, it's not a joke. It's not a gag. Next week, we're hitting our 9th patch in 10 months. And then in November, we're going to finish out the year strong with the long-awaited arrival of the Nix system.
Ah, bueno, semana entrante 4.3.2.
It's not the lawless wasteland of Pyro many folks have been speculating, but an independent system with its own set of rules and laws and multiple ways to get there. It's an exciting time for everyone at Cloud Imperium Games because as the architects of our
Enano, es que esas son las instalaciones de los desarrolladores. Debe haber una Polaris y una Idris a escala, inclusive una jabalina.
Let's get a few housekeeping tasks out of the way. First, we're simulcast on YouTube and Twitch. So if you want the keen communities of Twitch or the 4K ultra high resolution of YouTube, you have your choice. Second, throughout the broadcast today, we want to see and hear what you have to say along the way, and you can tell us on social media by using #CitizenGone. We're especially interested to see any photos from those watch parties that are happening across the globe, and we're going to find some way to bring a few of them into the broadcast later in the program. Third, we've also had a CitizenCon contest going for people to create their very own slice of life in the PU videos, and we played the winning entries during our pre-show countdown.
Pero él está hablando pues de temas, es tema de community, de que están haciendo un concurso de la gente que haga machinima, que es videos basados en el juego, con los gráficos del juego, pero digamos que hace ciertos artilegios pues para que parezcan películas y cosas así.
Good job. And to all the winners, I'm sure someone will either be in touch with you about your wolves or they'll just show up on your accounts. I really don't know how that process works. Probably would have been good to find out before the show, huh? He's so afraid. Either way, if you missed the pre-show and are curious if you won, you can check the replay after we're done here today. All right. I just realized that my bosses, Chris and Sandy, are sitting in a movie theater watch party in Switzerland right now. A completely captive audience. So real behind the scenes here, this is especially torturous for Chris right now because he's super excited about the next segment we've got coming up. Aren't you, Chris? And you're just sat there right now, forced to watch and listen to anything I say. Do either of you regret that decision so long ago? All right, so I've probably pushed my luck enough. Let's get to the next thing. When Nyx arrives next month, it'll have Levski, the Glacium Belt, and the new Welcome to Nyx operation we just discussed. But throughout 2026, we'll also continue to build the star system out with new features and new technologies that will not only set Nyx apart and give it a unique identity from its sibling star systems, but continue to set Star Citizen apart
Esta sí fue puro
from other
relleno.
video games
La verdad,
altogether.
no he hecho
Now, at
gran
this
cosa.
point, if you're running one of the watch parties, you're going to want to crank your speakers up for some brand new music from the maestro Pedro himself. And let's take a look at some of what the next year has to offer for the Nyx system.
Bueno, cositas que va a recibir Nyx.
At Cloud Imperium Games, we believe art inspires the best technology, and through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year, it will change how you experience every world.
Bueno, van a mostrar el sistema de fabricación de
For
mundos.
the Nyx system, we will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens.
Y van a actualizar los planetas de Stanton y Pyro.
And more traditionally,
Se supone que los de Nyx van a ser más brutales, así como pasó con Pyro, que Pyro los planetas son hermosísimos. Comparados con Stanton, Nyx va a ser aún superior a Pyro y ellos con ese sistema actualizado van a
we like to do
devolverse a
things
actualizar.
on another level. Issues like seeing tiling from our height maps from high altitude or the unpredictable blending when two biomes connected were common. But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now, this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale the Star System requires. We
El tema es que ellos terminan con Génesis y hacen ya planetas así.
in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail.
Porque van a mostrar cómo va a evolucionar el sistema. Uy.
With Genesis, we've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things. biomes are now created based on the physical data sets, with the assets being spawned whenever and wherever the correct criteria is found. So when you see a forest or a meadow, it's no longer because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules. Genesis also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create for our different datasets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil type, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few.
Pero este juego va a explotar con
You can now where
procesadores.
to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA. With Genesis, we can now keep that detail-orientated mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity. Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us. We want that feeling of finding a corner of the universe that you'll fall in love with, and where you want to settle down and build your home.
Uy, 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 el man está hablando ya de construcción.
Now I'm going to hand you over to Will to go deeper into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all expect. I work on Planet Tech, so let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year. And instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create, let's go ahead and show how all this work applies to the upcoming planets of Nyx.
Bueno, vamos allá a los planetas.
So there are 3 planets in Nyx. Nyx 3 is a gas giant, and I think it's blue? It's not going to surface, I don't really know. Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic, it's got like this high pressure atmosphere, and it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's going to have some really interesting biomes for you to discover, but for now, just know it's going to be dangerous, because today we're going to focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system.
Bueno, se parece a Bloom por el momento.
Nyx 1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse set of biomes, from weathered rocky mountain ranges to vast sweeping forests and grasslands, and from damp expansive wetlands to claustrophobic festering swamps.
Oh, bueno, pues ya van a haber biomas
Core biome
pantanosos.
concepts give us a fantastic platform to hone our technology. In some cases, because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So, let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface, and the ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now we author much more of the data in a unified way. when you look at Earth, you see blues and greens for ocean and vegetation.
Bueno, ahí está hablando pues cómo se manejan los colores, que
We wanted to keep it as simple as that.
digamos que desde afuera se va a ver de una manera, pero cuando ya entra como empieza a haber juego, digamos, de la luz, de los elementos, del aire y todas las cosas, ya al entrar a traspasar la atmósfera, se va a ver diferente.
This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space. Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light.
Oiga, pero siempre muestran la pinche
When
polar.
we approached the surface of the planet,
No, donde eso se ve así en el juego, o apenas uno aterriza explota el
one of the
equipo.
things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles.
Bueno, esto, lo que van a mostrar acá, no lo tiene el Vulkan ni el Direct actual. O sea, aquí están teniendo en cuenta el Vulkan nuevo.
They also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values. And this gives us a
Entonces,
whole new level of
el detalle del terreno puede ser personalizado en las configuraciones del Vulkan nuevo.
So now that we've nailed the surface, let's have a look at adding some rocks. We've now got two major contributors to the rock content of our planets. Firstly,
Pues si es lo que vos decís, entonces Vulkan sale el mes entrante. Porque esto es uno de los tres planetas de Nix.
Based on the geology at a given location. This adds an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before. The second is a big one for you ground vehicle enthusiasts. Rocks are now found not scattered everywhere, like spilt popcorn at the cinema, but only in places you'd expect to find them, thanks to a brand new rock scattering algorithm that isn't annoying as hell. Using physical data generated for each large and medium tile, now rock distribution makes sense and has a physical basis.
Ahí están explicando que pues, Genesis es una forma a punta de código de crear planetas y ser 100% procedural, pero ya Genesis, digámoslo que así, que tiene una especie de inteligencia, que realmente no lo es, donde él ya define cuáles son los lugares más donde se coincide, o digamos que más realistas para que aparezcan, digamos, estos nacimientos de roca, cosas así, ¿cierto? Que no es que en mitad de un bosque haya un montón de piedras donde no haya nada, no, o sea, solamente digamos que en las bases de las montañas donde deberían haber más roquitas o cosas así. Entonces eso es lo que está explicando del Génesis.
When we start to add a bit of fresh water,
El pantano está muy bacano.
transitioning into more wetland type biomes. And while forests are super cool, let's focus on the grasslands and wetlands today. So, how are we making these look so great? Obviously, we've had grass before, but never meadows of it. Because until now, we haven't been able to spawn grass in large enough quantities or effectively represented at distance. So we're stepping up our game in terms of spawning, shaping, and shading grass. With Genesis, we now leverage GPU spawning to create vast quantities of assets across all biomes, whether it be dense meadows or more complex collections of ground cover like you can see in these wetlands. We are also able to fit our grass tiles to the ground by conforming them to the unique terrain underneath. Now we can finally cover complex terrain shapes with grass and ground cover assets, and as a result they are now gravity aligned, meaning each blade is oriented as you'd expect and not sticking out like before.
Ya vale la pena andar en carrito en los planetas.
Next, let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense. At a distance, a field of grass is far more like a carpet or cloth than a flat surface.
Okay.
This improves how our grass looks from a near perspective, as well as bringing us nicely to how we're solving the distant representation of grass. So, let's talk about the distance problem.
¿Cuál
One of
inversión?
our biggest achievements with Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like
Pues sí.
can I say Lego?
Porque no sé qué tan lenta sea. Habría que
But in
mirar
the
si
past,
es
this broke
rapidito.
down very quickly when objects simply disappeared when viewing the same biome.
Porque es más como para una ursa, una cosa así, pues un carrito pequeño que mueva mucho.
Because we don't hide planetary transitions and allow you to view complex regions from very large distances, there are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent our terrain at varying scales. This has been the enabler for all of the lovely advances in terrain complexity and asset spawning we've shown so far. And it's also how we now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance. When creating the VT for each part of the terrain, we assess if vegetation has covered the ground, and if so, what shading should be applied. For all of our biomes, we're now able to use the same shading model for the distant representation as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands, or even our festering swamps. So yeah, we didn't forget about the swamps, and they're coming to Nyx 1 as well. Built using the lessons learned and all the technologies we've developed, these swamps now spring into existence from the planetary data. This biome combines all of the elements from the biome.
Lo que veo que no han hablado
from water interaction,
es porque sí, está
spawning,
brutal
ground
el
coverage.
tema visual de cómo se
And I
ve,
think it creates something really
la tecnología que han desarrollado para que, digamos, cómo cambia la visión sin que deje de ser realista cuando tú estás viendo desde lejos, te estás acercando, porque ellos lo que están diciendo ahí también es que tú puedes identificar las zonas de explorar, digamos, los puntos de interés de manera fácil desde afuera del planeta y no tener que aterrizar a que el popping te haga aparecer, digamos, una estación o un lugar de interés. Entonces, es lo que estaba explicando ahí de todo lo que han desarrollado, pero me falta la fauna, o sea, porque realmente son puros planetas que no tienen animales ni nada, no han dicho nada sobre eso.
We've always strived for. And meeting of technology and art that I truly believe will set our worlds apart from anything we've done before. And with that said, let's move on to a little travel between systems, literally.
Bueno, vamos a mostrar un viaje en tres temas.
Up until now, our mission system has been specific to the star system you're in, meaning a Stanton mission has to take place in the Stanton system, and a Pyro mission has to take place there. We've never been able to link these together, but with the introduction of our third star system, it's time for this to change. And that begins with the introduction of interstellar cargo.
What are you talking about today?
Hauling is back.
No one said Hauling was gone. He doesn't even play the game.
Bueno, escucharon, ya había una limitante tecnológica para crear las misiones de carga, las de Howling, entre sistemas estelares. Ya con la entrada de Onyx, ya les tocó trabajar en eso y ya van a haber viaje, o sea, van a haber cargas entre, o sea, que tú recoges en Stanton y te toca entregar en Pyro, por ejemplo.
Cargo from Ruin Station in Pyro and go through Jump Point to Stanton and drop it off there at one of the LEOs.
So if you've never sort of experienced the jump point while going through it, these missions will require you to. They're no way limited. You can do them in any sort of ship you want, any size of ship. I'll be doing them in my Drake Cutter myself, between Stanton and Nyx.
Just a Drake Cutter.
I've got a few ships, but the Drake Cutter is really cute, so.
One thing that we're looking to add with these interstellar missions is scripted combat encounters where you can be attacked by NPC ships. Maybe the mission giver has tipped off some pirates who are looking to get a hold of that cargo, as well as express missions, which means the deadline timers that you're used to in the regular hauling missions might get really tight and you've got to learn to be very fast.
Están hablando de que en esas misiones pues van a meter que te ataquen naves, te asalten piratas y cosas así. O sea, que ya no es simplemente ir y volver y ya, sino que también hay va a haber posibilidad de que te ataquen NPCs y cosas así. O sea, que no todo va a ser dependiendo de los jugadores.
After 4.4 launches next month, and why we want to keep as much of what we're doing behind closed doors so you can discover it for yourself in-game and on your own, we still are excited to share with you a brief look at one of our up-and-coming locations we're calling Rockcracker. Okay, so Rockcracker, Jared, is our internal name.
Rockcracker is where you have to crack a rock. It's a big rock. You want more?
So way out into the Keegar Belt, you'll find these old QV breaker stations.
Bueno, ¿para qué sirve la estación de ruptura de
Industrial
rocas?
facilities breaking apart large asteroids and mining them down. But since they've been mothballed and been left abandoned, so you're going to have to find your way inside and thinking about how do we bring this facility back to life.
Oh.
It's not just about flipping a switch. As you bring these stations back to life, you'll be lighting the beacon and calling attention to these long forgotten places.
Esto es como Hathor.
One of the main features is the laser head, which will require.
Te toca ir a una estación, buscar cómo encenderla y me imagino que va a romper esa roca que tiene ahí en el aro y me imagino que habrán cristales super o materiales super valiosos. Es otro Hathor pero en Nyx.
Or you're going through the main laser entrance. Now, as you're traversing through the facility, you'll find the old engine room. Now, there may be ways to bring the facility back to life, kickstart the engines, and bring power to different parts of the facility. Maybe eventually bringing the laser back online and cracking some rocks.
The secondary gameplay loop is FPS combat. You're not there by yourself.
There may be squatters and outlaws in these stations trying to stop you from what you want to do.
Papa.
Oiga, pero o sea, el FPS está cogiendo mucho protagonismo, pues ojalá lo pulan. Porque digamos que ahora es meramente jugable, pero el FPS tiene sus cosas.
You've systematically brought power to various functions of the facility. You've activated the laser. You've fired the laser. You've broken apart the rock. And then you'll be able to fly your ship inside and see what's there.
So you fly a ship into an asteroid.
Yeah. You just get into your ship and fly in and start searching around and trying to find the pieces that you want to mine.
No, o sea, toca ir con una nave minera a hacer esa misión.
I'm really excited about Rockcracker because it's a sandbox activity. You can kind of go to these whenever you want to.
Está chévere el
This
concepto, está
content
bacana la
is
misión.
for players who enjoy mining, who enjoy exploration, investigation, and don't mind a little bit of FPS content while they're there.
It will be a very new experience compared to any other asteroids because this one, kind of like Alan and mine, will crack open and show its secret.
And one presumes you can make a decent amount of scratch in an asteroid that's big enough you fly your spaceship into it.
It wouldn't be worth doing if you couldn't make a good amount of coin. Yeah.
Making promises for the econ team.
Yeah. They've got to balance it.
It's for people who want a lot of minerals.
Ahí hicieron una promesa modo de chiste de que hacer esta actividad va a dar plata.
It will be a place where like an organization or a group of like 5-6 people could come and just get a monumental
5-6 jugadores para hacer eso, no.
So, that's a look at some of what's coming over the next 12 months. In addition to what we've shown, there'll be new mission packs tailored to the People's Alliance and their struggles. There'll be events that invest you into the evolving storyline of all 3 systems we'll have in the game.
No, eso siempre se puede hacer con menos gente, pero pues es que sí necesitamos un grupo por ahí de 5 o 6 que sean fijos.
Of ground-based POIs, settlements and structures inhabited by those trying to make their way in the verse.
Ahí sea que sea un día a la semana. Ese día a la semana hagamos una de esas actividades y vamos rotándolas.
And now the new frontier of discovery for the Nyx system. Should I say ganking?
You already did. Good job, everyone. So yeah, a whole lot to take in there. Interstellar hauling is the beginning of a massive expansion to the mission system that'll let us connect these 3-star systems like never before. What else we got? Rockcracker. Rockcracker is just one of the next operations that'll be coming to the Nyx system in the first half of next year, where you're going to fly into an asteroid and do that thing that miners love more than anything else. Complain about PvPers getting in their way. No, I'm being told it's mining. It's mining. And of course, one of the most anticipated features coming to Star Citizen, Genesis, and what that means for the planets of Star Citizen, including the ones already in there. So let's talk to Will Hain and find out more.
Pero Rockcracker viene el año entrante, o sea, no va a salir Nyx con eso.
How they're going to use Genesis to update the planets and moons of Stanton and get back to me, all right? And see if we can get some fjords. What else we got? The Citizen on Digital Goodies Pack. That's a hard thing to say. That went up for sale a couple weeks ago and has a whole bunch of mysterious items in it. And that's what I can tell you now, that almost all of them are tied to the Nyx system in one way or another. So let's find out what's actually in there. There's a gunship flight suit and helmet. 2 armor sets from that mysterious faction causing a ruckus with the Vanduul, and an Intersect BDU sweater and outfit, a couple of crazy weapons that I'm certain we're going to learn about in just a few minutes, some slick Levski swag, and finally, to celebrate the long-awaited addition of the Vanduul to Star Citizen, a cool Vanduul knife and adorable plushie, which I swear to love and squeeze and cherish forever. So yeah, it's a pretty solid haul for this year's Digital Goodies Pack, which you can still pick up right now on the RSI store. So now, let's go ahead and transition into our next segment. Much of what you see in the show today has been the culmination of a lot of people's work in... What's up? All right, I had a dream about like this once. Yeah. Okay, so against everyone's better judgment, the thing has finally happened. Can I help you?
How do you think the show's going?
Good. We're getting the Nyx star system and the Vanduul are coming.
Kind of been a lot of Nyx, right?
Well, yeah, but it's a major milestone and it deserves a major showcase celebrating everybody's hard work. And
you got more, right?
Well, yeah, there's spaceships coming up.
Cool.
Wow, it's like they only scanned the original community portion of me. If pictures steal your soul, imagine what face scanning in PCAP does.
Well, this has been super cringe. So I'm gonna head out.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Oh.
Okay.
Regular CitizenCon is still better. You should have done that.
Of course. Thank you. Part of me that isn't a soulless marketing puppet. All right. No. Let's just go to some spaceships, shall we?
Bueno, siguen naves.
Hi, my name's John Crew. I'm the vehicle director here at CIG, and welcome to Talking Ship, where we're going to talk about 3 new ships coming to the Persistent Universe.
3 naves.
The last year has been pretty hectic in terms of vehicle deliveries. I think we've delivered the most we've ever done in a 12-month period, and we've covered all the way from tiny little snubs all the way up to capital ships.
We've kind of filled out a few little gaps. We've introduced some new ships by some old manufacturers.
We had the Polaris come out, and obviously people have enjoyed playing with that. We snuck the Idris in without none of you expecting it for a while, and it's been a busy year. It's nice to start revisit some of the older catalogue and some of the bigger ships again.
I think my favourite ship from the last year is a tie between the Wolf and the Golem.
Favourite ship in the last year? Probably the Wolf.
I feel like it's the obvious one. I'm trying to think of something else, but I really like the Wolf.
Everyone's mentioned the Wolf. The Wolf's everyone's favourite.
The Wolf, obviously,
sí, esa nave es hermosa.
A completely new aesthetic to the game.
The Wolf was, it was kind of everything we set it out to be, and it revived an old manufacturer. We've not seen anything from a while, so yeah, I'm going to say the Wolf.
The Golem, I think, is just an incredibly well-formed ship in such a small package. It really just shows off that Drake aesthetic, giving you the absolute bare minimum needed to perform a role.
I honestly do really like the Zeus. I think it came out really well. It's kind of hard to pin down a favourite. We've released, a lot of really cool ships.
Next year we've got some super exciting ships coming up. We're ticking off a few big ones, which is good. We're gonna see again maybe some ships from some manufacturers that don't have that many in their lineup. There's a few big challenging ones starting, so they're good. A breadth of ships, should we say?
The 3 new ships we're going to introduce today all tie in some way to the primary factions fighting over the Nyx system. We'll start with the People's Alliance and Anvil Aerospace. Anvil is a very military-based brand. It's been a brand that's in Star Citizen for a long time, fighting for lots of military contracts and lore, often up against Aegis, and to the point it actually beat Aegis in the past. You will be familiar with a lot of their ships' designs, such as the Hornet and Lightning. Earlier this year, we introduced the Anvil Asgard, based on the Valkyrie chassis, which is an extremely popular offering. And this year, we're bringing the concept ship we introduced last year, the Anvil Paladin, to life. The Paladin is a gunship from Anvil Aerospace designed to support ground operations.
A gunship is a ship that's designed to stay in a sustained firefight while dealing a lot of damage, also taking damage.
We don't have a lot of gunships in the game that are true dedicated gunships. They are quite a tricky archetype to control in game without being too powerful. It's designed with a lot of firepower and high armor and health, but very low maneuverability.
Bueno, lo que estamos hablando de una nave que diera buena bala, pues aquí hay una tercera alternativa.
Lots of armor, lots of guns, big guns.
It's got a very similar squat kind of form to the Valkyrie. It kind of reminds me of, I guess, like a pit bull. Obviously a very menacing silhouette.
¿De qué tamaño son los cañones?
Forward weighted in its stance.
¿S4, S5?
Like it's coming towards you even when it's just sat still, and I think that's something.
Oh, están hablando de las que van a venir. Hay una parecida a ella, que es la Valkyria. La Valkyria es parecida.
Clockwise, what you'll then see is the first of the side turrets. If you notice the canopy, you'll see that there's a fairly thick space between where the glass is and the whole exterior. That's because it has deployable armor, which can come out and give you
qué bacano, mira.
While you're actually attacking the target head on.
Really nice kind of dual connected wings with the turrets out on the sides, just to try and give as much kind of range for those turrets as we can get.
Which is controlled by one of the 2 remote stations underneath the bridge. If we come around to the rear, now that rail mounts the main, which is controlled by the co-pilot.
So you've got full 360 coverage underneath, full 360 coverage on top with it, and then the side turrets also have 360 coverage around and 180 out sideways. So really you have, between the turrets, pretty much 360 coverage in all directions. One of the unique things about the Paladin is all the turrets are remote and all the crew are located in one central 2-story room.
A lot of
la torre es. Me estoy ahogando.
But Paladin you're all sat together with a nice, cool experience. So you
O sea,
can.
la torreta de arriba tiene 4 cañones S5.
Pilot, co-pilot up top, and you've got the gunner. I think that
Hueputa.
helps with the intention of what the ship does, because you've got this really nice kind of like gunner viewpoint down, kind of giving this lower coverage.
We added a glass floor just to keep the two connected. I think that really helps with the feeling that you're all working together and communicating.
That said, if you don't have the ability to fully crew a Paladin, you can still fly it and engage in combat solo.
Obviously not as good as if you have a full crew, but you can't always guarantee your friends are going to be online.
As a solo ship, it's pretty capable of doing a variety of missions within Star Citizen. So if you want to run
Pero la
ship
torreta de
solo,
arriba
you
se
can
puede
take
manejar
on
por el
combat
piloto.
missions
Wow.
That, say, other heavy fighters like the Scorpius or other ships such as the Drake Cutlass could do. Coming aboard the Paladin, you enter into this sort of armory, ready room area. You have a variety of suit lockers and weapon racks in this room.
Everything's very militaristic, stripped back, simple. It's a very functional space, but you'll find everything you need in there.
One of the improvements from the original concept is we've added a small dedicated cargo bay area, allowing you to store actual SCU crates. Forward of that is the route to the lower gunners, and then upstairs you have the bridge area, and then off that central area you have the dual living quarters, one on the left, one on the right, and then at the rear you have the main sort of engineering area where the majority of the components are. Also within the upper traversal area you also have a little breakout area with seating, food machine, toilets, etc.
I think it's a very cool looking ship. I think we did a really nice job of taking what was there in the concept and adding an extra level of detail and trying to
Acá, no,
move
el-
forward.
I think it hits the nail in terms of
riel.
a really solid military ship. It's really complementary to some of the other ships.
Pues bastante diferente a la
Lineup, so it's
Valkyria,
got
está
Valkyrie,
bonita.
we've got this big drop ship. You know, the Paladin's there just to make sure it's safe, make sure no one messes with you, and just basically scare people away.
The thing I like most, I think, about the Paladin is that it's very clearly got a crew of 4, and they all kind of work and operate under the same conditions. You know, the pilot, co-pilot, and the 2 gunners, they're basically all equal on the ship. There's one toilet, everyone's got the same style of bunk. When they're at work, everyone's at the front of the ship together.
It's really odd to me that you call that, you like that there's one toilet for 4 people.
Well, you know, it's you all work together. You're all equal at work. You're
The toilet seat never gets cold.
toilet seat never gets cold. Yeah.
So that's the Anvil Paladin. Whilst originally a military-built craft, it's the perfect ship for folks on the frontier trying to defend against threats. And talking of threats, let's move to our next ship, a replica from Isperia.
Una vez,
Isperia,
Feria.
a high-end manufacturer. They specialize in recreating exotic and particularly alien spacecraft.
Effectively what they're doing is they're remanufacturing them, making them a little bit more suitable for kind of human flight. And the latest offering from Asperia is the Vandal Stinger.
The Vandal are big, scary space aliens. They're like 7-foot tall, evil war race that sort of take over, steal technology, absorb it, fuse it all together into their own needs.
They are the relatively nasty aliens that you sometimes hear about and haven't seen much of yet. They also make really cool spaceships.
Ah, bueno, es la nave de los Vandal, la que estamos hablando de si le van a poner el juego o no, pues sí.
Higher tier sort of ace pilots or high-ranking members within their clans.
Uy, se ve muy bonita. Pues el cockpit
Stinger is
brutal.
similar to something like the FA or I guess the Scorpius.
It packs a lot of firepower in quite a large frame, so it's a very, very tanky spacecraft. The firepower is almost unrivaled in terms of just both the number and the size of them. So it's there for players who don't want agility. They don't want to be in and out quickly. They want to be there dealing with
Uy.
big guns and taking all the hits.
¿Te gusta?
One thing Isperia have done differently with the Stinger is they have done away with the majority of the bespoke weapons.
They heard everyone's complaints about the glaive and blade and have stripped off the original Vandal weapons to allow customization for standard human weapons.
With the exception of the single-size 5-gun.
It was too well integrated into the hull, even for Asperia to remove.
All the additional weapons are generic mounts, so they can be swapped with any of the existing lineup that we have in the game. By doing this provides greater flexibility to
¿Pero
the
cuántos
end user,
cañones
which
tiene?
is
Tiene un
something very
S5,
important for
pero
the civilian
esos de
market.
4 me
For that
imagino.
bespoke weapon, the size 5
Y
plasma
tiene otra
cannon,
S2, o sea, esa
functionally
cosa
it is
tiene
the
mínimo
same
7
as the
cañones.
existing size 5 plasma cannons on the scythe and glaive, but it is a sort of Gen 2
Entonces es la
model.
competencia a
Perhaps in
la
a different
Hornet.
aesthetic compared to those models. You'll see they're very much older Vandal styling. This is much newer Vandal styling, but underneath it is the same weapon that people have used for years.
Our job as the vehicle art team on the PU was to take the Stinger from the squadron team and prepare it for life in the PU. We took an opportunity to take, this really well-established art style and, add extra details where needed.
So the exterior is a real blend of these kind of hard surface, kind of rare alloyed kind of wings, and then underneath this real kind of organic structure that kind of
Es como una cucaracha.
together. It connects the thrusters in, it connects all the kind of underside of the vehicle and pulls the whole ship together.
You can tell it's very different from the Vandal ships that are currently in the PU. If you take, for example, the way the cockpits are constructed.
Up at the front, we've got this big kind of bubble dome that gives the cockpit quite a unique shape compared to some of our other ships, and also gives the pilot a unique
Brutal,
position
brutal
within the
ese
ship that kind of
cockpit,
gives great
la
visibility
verdad.
out the front.
Boarding the Stinger
De las mejores
is
cabinas que han
little
hecho esta
unusual
gente.
compared to other ships, obviously being alien in nature.
You're going through a ramp at the rear, and at least you kind of straight up into the belly of the ship.
There's, lots of organic detail, rib cages, kind of strange alien forms.
On entry of the cockpit, the seat kind of comes down towards you, and you kind of climb over the back of it a bit like a motorbike.
You're basically riding into the cockpit. It feels very much like you're being carried inside the cockpit.
Into the traditional prone flying pose that Vandal pilots use.
I'm very happy with the Stinger. I think the team have done a really good job of
Está
making
muy
something that feels
bacana, la
different,
verdad, muy
feels
bacana.
alien, but it suits our lineup of ships and it suits our universe.
I think the guys did a really good job of respecting the direction and vision from the original Stinger and Vandal ships and Squadron.
We've tried to take a lot of inspiration from movies and other science fiction material, but I think it sits well within the Star Citizen universe.
So we have the Paladin for the People's Alliance. We have the Stinger for people that really like Vandal and want to try and pretend to be them. But what about the other mysterious faction we have running around?
So Greg
Banu.
Chowdhury got his start as he was working at a cargo center out in Odin. He started being able to get his hands on some stuff that other people couldn't, items that necessarily you couldn't find on a store shelf, but you wanted anyway.
I think Gray is interested in, happy customers. Gray just sees themselves as a conduit to get these things in the hands of people who would appreciate them.
And I think that his latest offering is really going to turn some heads.
Una Drake, pero ¿cuál?
So the Shiv, well, we don't really know what it is, to be fair.
It's what happens when someone who is a genius at aeronautics and ship assembly is given free rein to do whatever they want. It's
¿Qué carajo es
the
eso?
best of whatever they can find lying around, put together to make something truly unique, wonderful, arguably beautiful, and just released out into the universe to see what happens.
Y es una...
At first glance at the exterior of the Shiv, I think most people will probably recognize there is more than a fair proportion of a Cutlass visible there, but it's had quite a few changes to it.
As you look a little bit closer, you'll start to pick out elements from other ships. You've got, main thrusters that are from the Valkyrie.
Even the bits that are obviously a Cutlass have had panels welded on, panels removed. The top turret, which is now remote, is just this hodgepodge amalgamation with multiple other ships' turrets. And then the changes continue onto the inside where, again, it sort of feels Cutlass-like, but then you'll find there's bits of Crusader ships just integrated into the wall instead of what was there originally.
It has lost its side entrance, some of its cargo capacity, but what it's gained is it's gained visually more powerful thrusters. It's gained a really kind of nice set of belly thrusters. It's upped its firepower.
As ever, with the refined work from Gray's Market, you can see that great care was taken to the health and safety to ensure that there's no trip hazards anywhere.
There's like loose cables, panels are exposed. If you look carefully, you'll notice there are like tools laying around in the cockpit.
It's going to toilet. Bucket.
Yeah, it's one for doing stuff, and then you need a second one to wash your hands. It's not an animal.
It has very much taken that ethos of Drake and moved it down a level, which I think is quite an achievement.
Just look at this thing. How do you even begin to describe the madness that created this? It's the Shiv.
Pero
Something
están...
new and different for Star Citizen. Where did it come from?
I'm not going to answer that.
Just nothing. Just
No comment.
Está cogiendo el vicio
Grey
de
goes to
de
places
sacar
and
segundas
talks to
versiones de
people.
NAS que ya
You
existen.
know,
O sea,
there are just many
no
ways
crean
to
una nada
find
desde
things
cero nueva,
that,
sino que
you know,
puro
I mean,
reciclaje. Por ejemplo,
are
la
they
pala y el
legitimate,
reciclaje de la
you know,
Valkyria, este
manufacturers?
reciclaje de la
No.
Cutlass,
Are they
la
operating on the
Meteora era
right side of the
reciclaje
law? Maybe not,
de
but,
la
you
otra que
know,
ya no me acuerdo cómo se llama,
money's money.
y así sucesivamente.
Ray have a motto, an ethos
Está
for
bacano,
It
pero
probably comes down to
uno quiere ver
don't ask
cosas
where I
completamente
got it,
diferentes.
Don't ask how we
la
got
verdad.
it.
Don't worry about it.
Pero pues el hacer cosas tan de cero, pues obviamente se demoran más en hacerlas. Son más tiempo de producción y no podrían sacar una nave al mes como están haciendo ahora.
People who like a rustic aesthetic.
It's a fun ship, but it's also really strong, to be honest, and it's absolutely a statement.
I'm happy with the 3 ship offerings. They are obviously very combat heavy.
There's something we wouldn't normally release all at once, but honestly, all of them are a different statement, and they're all cool.
As always, super excited to release these ships into the game and just see how players react and play with them.
Por si sé
Always
cuándo
fun
van a
to see
estar.
The quirks and the shenanigans that people get up to with them. So that's talking ship for another year. So-
you gotta do the thing with Lexi. Talking weapons.
So I've just been informed that we have to do a bit of a timeshare agreement this year. So we have to throw it over to Alexei for Talking Weapons, which is an extremely original name.
Bueno, armas.
I'm talking about the new edition that came out in October. The non-weapons are essentially the weapons that does not have a manufacturer, the weapons that you can think of that were made by space pirates.
Gray sells whatever he can sell.
Sometimes he gets his hands on some weapons that come from unknown origins.
He will sell things that no company in their right mind would ever make.
These are the most kind of like scrappy and taped together and the most kind of like pyro-ish weapons that you can think of.
Right now we're releasing 3 new weapons. Rocket launcher, the LMG, and the long-awaited Space AK.
I think this
Una
is the one
AK
that,
espacial.
not only is the most in demand, but I've been
Bueno,
politely
está
badgered
sacando-
about the most. It's a fun rifle that basically fires
Ok.
energy and ballistic.
Están sacando
The
armas
first
piratas.
shot will be your ballistic. Your second shot will be the.
O sea, para los que les guste
You'll see
Fallout,
at the top of the arm,
véalas.
there is a bolt that circles the rounds, and that goes off with the ballistic shot, but it does not go off.
Aguas o
with the
tira láser
and
igual al
that is
tiempo.
just like a really fun way of making a weapon work in kind of like a scrappy, glued together kind of aesthetic.
Uy, yo quiero esa arma.
The LMG, this thing is a really fun, slow-firing, hard-hitting beast.
It will bring the 50 cal, and the only other weapons that have this right now in the verse are the Bearing sniper rifle and the Coda.
Honestly, if you even get hit by one, you just instant tier 1 injury, back to medical.
O sea, pura arma para el enano.
You know what? We made all these really complicated, fancy guns, and some people just want, I want a slow-firing rifle. Give me a scrap-together box that fires the biggest thing you can possibly find.
We don't have a rocket launcher of this caliber. It will be 3 grenades straight together that you pull into the
Los
tube
láser misil.
and fire towards your enemies.
Para ganadas
What
con
about
cinta.
It will have an arming distance, so we will not be able to just point it towards an enemy.
It's also going to have a lot of spread. So essentially, you're going to have to get very close with your launcher to be able to blow up ships with a single payload in it. You can't actually aim with the apparatus, because you've got the tube on your shoulder, and you try to aim it, you'd have to physically put the tube in your head. So we were like, oh, we can't have an aim apparatus for this. And then we realized, like, it's in the spirit of being a tube that you can't use the aiming apparatus, and you just kind of like, all right, I think that's the middle of the screen, I'm gonna hit it.
It's in the spirit of being a tube.
Are we gonna talk about binoculars? Binoculars are really cool. We don't
Para
have
eso viene
any
la
universe,
la
and
4.3.2.
I think it will be really convenient to use something that's dedicated to look for the things, especially far away, instead of using your sniper scope, for example.
Will the binoculars have glint?
I'm not aware of this one. Probably not, because binoculars are not something that you need to be aware of.
It's really funny because obviously, due to Glintgate, as I beautifully internally call it, basically there was a lot of community feedback basically saying like, oh, I really like spotting people. I really like playing a spotter. And essentially I was like, oh, this community wants to be able to spot people from distances. And what can we make gadget-wise that doesn't require new features? And it was like, binoculars. And I prototyped a thing which essentially was just a scope in a hand, and it worked. So we've got some really cool binoculars coming that allow you to spot people from distances.
And how much damage do the binoculars do?
Depends on how you throw them.
Thanks, Alexei and Zach. That's
Me gustó la K, no tanto porque es una K, es porque tiran láser y bala al tiempo.
Anyone else is going to come and tell me something else? It's been an exciting year, and I think the next year of ships is going to be even more exciting and expansive than this year.
Well. That is an eclectic bunch of combat ships for the Verse, and they're all available right now up on the robertsspaceindustries.com store. Also, any minute now, there's going to be a PTU drop that includes all three, so you can fly them now ahead of their release next week when Alpha 432 goes live. 3 combat ships. I wonder if they'll have any additional uses coming up later in the show. That's a hint. All right, what else can I shill? There's merch. We've got these cool new Levski.
Las estrenadas de combate vienen la semana entrante. ¿O escuché mal?
There's some Levski metal posters on the store, and of course, love them or hate them, but you can't avoid them. There's this cool new Wickelo's Emporium t-shirt. Yeah. There's also a page published earlier today with a bunch of links to offerings from our third-party partners, from eye trackers to gaming chairs to voice packs to spaceship models from new partners like Planet Ring and Pigeon Spaceport and more. You can find all of that on the RSI website as well. And what else can I shill? Oh, for those of you who are at watch parties, where is it? Challenge coins. Who doesn't love challenge coins? There's these lovely Levski-themed challenge coins if you're attending one of the 9 official watch parties around the world. There's also a digital one of these in the goodies
Mándame una
bag,
cosa de
so
esas.
check those out. Don't leave today without getting your Levski challenge coin. All right, what else can I shill? Now I'm kind of tired of shilling. All right, let's find out some more about where we are. Simon, can we move? Can we do? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay, here we go. Pardon me. Excuse me. Hi, how you doing? Hey, that was my best angle. Hey, I gotta be careful. Last year I took 3 steps and tore a muscle. All right, so this is the 9th floor of CIG Manchester's Manchester office. That's
Noveno piso.
This is the room where we have lunch every day, and if you get here early enough, croissants, if the weapons team hasn't stolen all of them. Over here, we got some cool mannequins representing different aspects of the game. You got the ever-present, Hurston security armor over here. That's really cool. You got the Duster's armor right here. You got this guy from a game that we're not talking about today. Marine armor, yeah, it's all pretty cool. And then when you come over here, got a nice little recreation area. There's some sim pits over there for people who need to test that kind of stuff.
Sí, total, hay Hurston. Sí.
Krigeri, Bengal Carrier. Come over here, shoot it. Go down the nose here. Watch this. Very cool. I'm gonna go over here. Can you see me?
Oh.
Hi, Mom. All right. So yeah, and what are you doing, Richard Towler? All right. I thought John went to Washington, D.C. Let's see, what else we got? We got cool Voyager bar here. This is where
Se parece al bar de Horizon.
Breakfast goodies, coffee, stuff like that. Hey, who remembers the big coffee controversy of 2016 where everybody took to Reddit and pondered the question, do devs deserve coffee? I do. You want to see what next year's big controversy is? Check this out. I'm going to come over here. Do devs deserve coffee? Welcome to the Stargarita machine. Yeah. Do devs deserve frozen deliciousness? I don't know. Go to Reddit and let us know. All right, let's see. Let's go over here. Competition. Oh, competition winners. We have the list of competition winners. Can we put that on the screen? Yeah, sorry, competition winners. Remember the competition for the CitizenCon winners? The people made the videos, and we gave them a Kruger L21 Wolf. We actually have the names. They're behind me. Look. All right, that's cool. Also, everybody's got food. Do I have food here? Oh, somebody's supposed to save me pizza. All right, so we got, oh, you guys saved me a lot of pizza. Let's see, there's like 3 different kinds of pizza here. What if we just combine them into like a challenger situation here? That's a CitizenCon throwback if you're not familiar with. So I have now crafted my own pizza experience. And that is a terrible segue into our next segment. Gemma, can we, Gemma, are you there?
Yes, Jared.
Can we fire up the FPS crafting segment while I try to chew this off camera?
We sure can. Roll, BT.
Star Citizen, at its heart, will always be an enormous sandbox experience, where you can set out to tackle the universe in whatever ways you want. But that doesn't mean we can't shape parts of the universe here and there to better suit our needs. That goes for both you and us. Let's start this part of the show with a look at how crafting is going to change everything from resource gathering, refining,
No se vino el crafting.
when it comes online in the next few months.
En los
First version
próximos
of
meses.
crafting is going to be quite small in scale. We're going to use it as a kind of a concentrated effort to allow the players to experience the initial UI, the flow of gathering materials of different quality.
Nada, una intro muy larga para que empezaran a hablar del crafting.
Better than what they have currently in the game.
The first version is going to be primarily FPS items that you can craft, weapons and armor.
Ok, van a arrancar con porque vas a poder fabricar tus propias armas.
Primary progression mechanic. Star Citizen isn't your standard MMO. We don't have levels. We have ships. We have gear. We have things that you create in the world, you perfect, you research, you improve. And those items, those ships, those vehicles, the armor and weapons, that's how you progress in Star Citizen. Crafting isn't just a progression mechanic for creating new items. It's also a fundamental change to how we handle resources in the game. The materials that you collect, how you refine them, quality matters.
Crafting the weapons, you'll be able to have some quality materials to influence the item stats on those weapons.
It'll be somewhat random, potentially weighted on the location of the material. Some will have a higher chance of higher quality. And once you take those materials to your crafting bench, the fabricator, you can use them to craft, and the different attributes will be increased based on the quality of the materials you use. It's not just iron ore anymore. It's iron ore of the quality that you know will get you the stats for the item that you desire. And it's not just mining, it's essentially every resource we can get our hands on.
To support this, we also need major changes to inventory so that all of these new resources that you're collecting, you can see what you have.
el nuevo
you can
inventario.
order it better, you can understand what you have in your inventory.
We won't have the new refining crafting system yet. We'll be using the existing ones. Those will pass the quality through into the refined materials, which you can then take to your crafting machine and start making your personal items.
Bueno,
Once
la
you have the
máquina de
blueprints
crafteo
and
va a
your
estar en el
quality
hangar.
materials that you've refined, then you can put them together on the item fabricator. This will be pretty much what we showed in last year's CitizenCon, with the UI letting you assign your quality resources to different aspects of the item. Once you're happy with what you see on the preview, you'll be able to click to craft, and it'll get queued up, and your result will be produced sometime later. You'll be able to get the new crafting machine from shops in most landing zones. You'll be able to bring it up on your freight elevator and use it in your personal hangar, or tractor beam it around and stick it on a ship.
Sí, pues ella ya está trabajando en el inventario. O sea, eso posiblemente caiga también más o menos
Small
rápido.
amount of blueprints you get credited to your account just to test and mess around, but the vast majority of them will be earned through missions, and then you can use that blueprint to craft the item that it is that you've got the blueprint for. So it should be a good reason to go and test all the different various missions in the game.
The advantage of crafting your own items is that they'll be better than anything that you could buy from shops. You'll be able to increase and improve item stats that are relevant to your gameplay. Maybe a gun will shoot faster, maybe it'll do some more damage, or your armor will have greater resistances against environmental effects.
Ahora sí,
or
que si uno muere lo empeloten, porque ahí sí ya, primero vos con el crafting, porque ya tenés la receta, puedes recuperar las
We're
cosas.
happy with this initial
Y vale la pena matar a la gente
gonna be
porque pues
so-
uno no sabe que sea
so
crafteada, de
valuable
pronto es
for
una
us
armadura
as to
muy
kind of
tesa
get the
y
metrics
sea
in,
una
get
receta
the
que uno no
feedback in,
tenga, entonces ahí sí
then we can make
ya,
the
ya se
changes that,
equilibra ese tema
they
de la
only
muerte.
become obvious, so to speak, when you have kind of mass amounts of data and mass amounts of users using it. So I'm very excited to get it out in the wild.
It's our intention to get crafting out on tech preview by the end of the year and get the testing we need so we can release it when it's ready.
Bueno, va a tener prueba técnica a fin de año.
One way you'll be
Todavía
crafting
todavía se
your own
demora un poquito.
experiences in the Star Citizen universe. But what about us? Where do we get to hone in and craft a bespoke experience here and there, specifically tailored to individual or small group play? Well, that's where instancing comes in. And I'm going to let Benji tell you a little bit more.
Va a haber técnica en la fin de año y para sacarlo a
Why are we doing it?
en los
and how will
siguientes
it work?
meses.
So if you've played any content in 2025 in Star Citizen, you know that most of these areas were in actual PvP zones where other players could interfere. Instancing is a means to create an environment where designers can create tailored content that's tuned to a specific group size, but it is also protected from outside interference. It's not to say that we don't love PvP. I'm a PvP guy. PvP me, bro. But like most MMOs, a good balance between a dangerous overworld and a protected instances is needed. Right now, we don't have this ability, and this is something we really need in order to give you a sense
Sí,
of
están
progression.
hablando, no, eso es chévere
that
en muchas
is
cosas.
Tailored and balanced to a tunable amount of groups, so the difficulty matches the group size. There's a beginning and an end. It doesn't mean that that doesn't fit in our overworld strategy, meaning getting to the instance is dangerous, exiting the instance is dangerous, or can be interfered with others. But at least when you're playing the content, we can actually make something that's curated for one experience. So before anybody says this is only a PvE thing, this technology can also be applied to unlock curated PvP experiences that are as seamless as the PvE ones. So it's not about one thing or the other, it's really about unlocking developers' ability to create curated content. So that said, how will it work? Instancing is really an evolution over static to dynamic meshing. We want your instances to be as seamless as your instance hangars, meaning that when you take an elevator, you exit the elevator, you're inside the instance. A gateway opens, you cross that gateway, you're now into your instances. Could be also a quantum jump into an instance that you don't even see. The transition is just like a dynamic mesh transition. And so throughout the universe, we will be able to add these areas that are open or closed instances that allow you to join in either with a party and have a reserved instance for your party, or join in open instances that has a number of slots. And so some of those areas will be completely instanced on different servers. This allows us to leverage the compute power of the entire mesh. The closed ones will be really to drive one piece of content. You enter and exit seamlessly, just like we do with your instance hangers currently. Let's go and find out what one of our first instances will be.
Siege of Arzen was an event we did previously, which created
Ay,
a
van
gameplay
a
scenario where the
traer
player had to run through and
las
progress
misiones de las
through
islas de
contested
Horizon.
islands of Arzen. This was a high-paced, high-intensity event, but it struggled a little bit from its technical execution. But now with the introduction of instancing, it gives us an opportunity to evolve it and modify it and make it better for you in a small group to work through that activity.
It is an event that I had the honor of pretty much solely designing and building all of the logic and having the stress of trying to get it working.
Agent Dooley from the CDF puts the call out for volunteers because basically the Ninetales have taken over sort of a cluster of floating platforms in Orison.
And you are there to kill these sort of lieutenants of this terrorist organization and take back control. So in our current thinking, Siege of Orison is designed for about a 15 to 20 people fire team. So you, your friends, or your org will go in, you'll all have sort of dedicated roles. Some of you might be the tank who brings in the heavy weapons and sort of pulls the fire.
Eso ya
Some of you
existía,
might
sino
sit
que
at the
como
back
todo el
and be the
juego
sniper,
es...
people off who are a bit further to make the advance easier. Some of you will be the medic who...
O sea, no hay contenido
sort of
instanciado, sino
is
que
going to
esto
revive and look after the
trabaja
rest
en
of
el
your
mundo
team and
abierto,
help for
pues
them.
según
Some of
entiendo
you will
era
be the people who
brutal
push for the objectives to try and get
tecnológicamente
most of the
mantener
mission
eso.
done. The event was designed for about 15 to 30
Ya
people.
con el
When we
tema de la
released it,
instanciada, entonces
we
ya
fixed the problem
a ti
with
te dan la misión y te
2
vas
DGSs on one
a la
server that
isla,
was
lo que
fighting for
sea, y ya
resources. And
esa
with that,
misión
we
es
also
solo
upped the
tuya.
player count to 100, so when it first debuted, it was already too full for what it was designed for.
It was a
Uh-huh.
massive operation at the time. I think that bringing it back and giving it a refresher will be a fantastic addition back into the PU.
So imagine if Siege was a instance that you could go in and play solo, or if it was a public event that you could go with your friends, or you could join up with random players on the server. There's lots of ways that we want to take a look at Siege, how we can make it a more approachable piece of content.
I'm excited, to say the least, to bring back Siege of Orison to Star Citizen and to sort of have it be one of the first tests that we have for instancing and really get it back to sort of a core experience point where it should be. So while the next season is quite heavily focused on Nyx, I'm also very happy that we're not really ignoring our other two systems of Stanton and Pyro, and we're going back there and we're sort of improving and expanding on the player's life in those two systems as well.
Yes, and while things like Genesis, interstellar hauling, crafting, Siege of Orison, and more will reveal next year, we'll continue to bring life into the existing universe outside of Nyx. There's still one more exciting use for instancing we're building right now. It's an earlier look than normal, and some of it is still in white box, but we're excited to share the first look at a major content release of 2026, and what it means for progression-based gameplay. As an evolution of our Building Interior initiative, you won't discover it by accident, because when it's complete, it will be found deep within the heart of Levski itself. This is the Municipal Works. So inside the facility, you'll find huge vaporization chambers, old processing plants, industrial tunnels, and eventually into the old turbines which are still pumping heat into the old rock.
So this is the true history of Levski. This is a place where you won't see in Lorville, you won't see in I-18 or the other landing zone. It's the pure basis of Levski. You will have, of course, metal and tunnels and more structural plays, but you will also see a lot of rock and cave. So it's not a place you go to take vacation. It's really a place you go to fix stuff.
Not everybody has what it takes to come down there and do the job that needs to be done.
All of your sewage systems have stopped working. Everything's going to quite literally. And so the player is tasked with their group, most likely, to go into there, take out the outlaws, and get the facility working again.
Uh-huh.
So let me get this straight. This is literally a mission to fix the toilets of Levski.
It's not just the toilets. You're also trying to turn on the air. Air is a bit more important. It still works in Levski, but you know, they have like maybe polluted air because it's not being cleared properly. It's not just for the toilet.
Poop mission.
It's also a little bit more exciting than just going into like some vents. It's like a free-layered system where there's 3 chapters.
This will be mission-driven and repeatable. Everything from mining to salvage to combat to investigation, a variety of roles. Narratively, it's a real sandbox. Every progression you do will unlock a new area that will link back to previous areas, complexifying the play space.
We've been wanting to have more gameplay around landing zones for a long time. Now that we have instancing tech coming online, that allows us to do something that provides really cool gameplay close to a landing zone.
With the missions, that's what will create different overlays or change the spaces or change the progression, but it'll be the instancing which will enable us to create tailored content to you and your group. So you're going to be able to play a part of it, make your progress, and then log off. And then the next time you come online, you'll be able to pick up where you left off.
It's going to allow players to return back to it at different states depending on how much you've progressed and be able to keep it going until you've reached sort of the
Así de grande hacen las misiones que uno sabe bloquear y entrar para mantener el...
It's you, your team, your party.
It's a way of giving players content where they know exactly where they're at and they can keep going back to it and improving sort of their own progress and ability to jump through them faster and faster times as well.
So that's a look at how we'll be allowing players and developers alike to create more crafted experiences within the greater sandbox of the persistent universe. Okay, is that it for me at this point, Jared?
Almost. Throw it back to me, and I've got one more for you after this.
Back to you, Jared.
Bueno, esa última me perdí. Pues están hablando de que pueden generar contenido muy grande, misiones muy grandes en las que uno puede entrar y salir, pues desbloquearse y entrar y seguir donde estaba. Algo parecido, voy a nombrar Warframe y la nueva guerra.
Really excited about the year
Entonces
ahead.
están como hablando
So that's a
tipo de
brief
cosas.
look at some of the ways in which we're allowing you and our developers to craft a more curated Star Citizen experience. Now, at this point in the show, we are in the home stretch. We've got only one more segment to go. But before we do that, we wanted to check out. We said earlier in the show that we would look at what you were saying during the show. We looked at how to put YouTube comments on the stream, and it was immediately apparent that we were going to lose our broadcast license, so we're not going to do that. We did find some social media stuff on Twitch, though, or not Twitter, X. What is it called now? Let's see what this says. Let's see. We've got Welcome Back Levski from. I'm not wearing my glasses. Oh no. Oh, time to suit up. Let's go get them, says Ubu. I really should have worn my glasses. Cue the bagpipes. That's the other game, Charlie Oscar. Let's see. Nice to see you live, Jared. Mom? Let's see. First Citizen Con after playing for almost a decade in Austin. Oh, nice. Straight out of Klesher, back to the Hex. Photos from Leicestershire. How do you say it? Is that Leicestershire? Leicester? Leicester? I've only been in the UK for 3.5 years. San Jose Bar Citizen Watch Party. Oh, somebody created a lovely Vandal mask there. Sean Tracy, can we get that in game? Just that, exactly. Just scan that, put that in game. All right, so that's a few reactions we're seeing on social media right now. Before we get to our big finale, or the thing we're going to wrap up the show with today, I did want to talk a little bit about Big Citizen Con versus Digital Citizen Con versus what we're doing today, which is Citizen Con Direct. every year CitizenCon is a monumental task for any number of people, whether that's development, marketing, the support teams, the platform teams. Everybody comes together to make this thing happen and go off, hopefully without a hitch. And so far, we've been doing all right, other than some stuff in the room here. You know who you are. They had to know. But doing CitizenCon is not always the easiest thing for our developers. You might not assume this, but most game developers are not social butterflies. They tend to like to sit quietly in the dark at their computers, like little goblins, and just make digital virtual worlds like this. And then I come in all happy and like, hey, you want to be on video? And they're like, no. And I'm like, it's in your contract. And they're like, oh yeah. So we thought, we usually do it behind the scenes afterwards, but we thought we'd do a little bit of it here. The folks in the editorial department put together a brief montage of some of the more candid moments from the filming of CitizenCon over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to spend 2 minutes and take a look at that. Let's see what they put together. How many CitizenCons have you performed in now?
Performed? Just the one.
Nope, my first one.
One last year.
2.
A few.
8 or 9, maybe 9 or 10.
Never.
Man, I don't know, man.
Did you like doing it?
Yes, I was completely terrified.
It was good, a bit stressful.
The first live one, I was a mess.
Weird combination of going from insane highs to insane lows.
Live ones.
Because?
It's over.
The live ones are pretty special.
Pre-samp's always fun, but the live events are special, aren't they?
Remember we were at that weird crack house in Ancos?
Right.
I like the live ones. Oh, I mean, I love these digital ones. These are the best.
Every time I've done it, it has been a digital one, and I'd like to do one on stage.
Is it because you have a restraining order against you, or?
Didn't know if I was going to be sick, if I was going to lose my stomach.
How hard is it to keep your eyes open on stage?
That's not a problem with the lights. They're kind of, I'm realizing through this sentence that I'm closing my eyes as I speak. Do I do that a lot?
I am a very shy individual, so this is me just trying to get out of my shell.
Getting the crowd to react to the ideas that we've been working on for so long.
We can react. Watch. Everybody. Yay!
I can feel your passion from here.
Cut the camera. Counting you down in like 30 seconds. I'm like, do I stand up? Do I sit down? Do I drink? Do I not? Do I talk?
This will be the best one yet. That's right. Because it's nice and short.
Is this all supposed to be usable content? Because I can be different.
No. Of all your nicknames, why is Moist Master your favorite?
I think you mean least favorite, and because it has the word moist in it. I mean, come on.
We'll give you a new nickname by the end of this.
Sounds good. Could do
All
with
right.
one.
Let's get started. So for those of you watching at home or at the watch parties, you're like, why are we showing that? I put that in there because I'm eternally grateful for all of the CIG staff and developers who take the time to appear on these things, whether it's ISC, SCL, CitizenCon, walk on stage, be pre-recorded. It's not the easiest thing for everybody. And on behalf of the community, if I can speak for them in this regard, I want to say thank you for participating in these things each and every year that we have them. Now, let's wrap things up here. So, let's see, how do I want to do this? At this point, we've only got one major story left to tell. But before we do that, we wanted to do one more check-in on something we started last year. Last year, Rich Tyler took the stage and presented his roadmap to 1.0. And we didn't want to go an entire year without talking to the senior game director himself to get his update on that 1 year later. So we're going to throw it to him, and we're going to go to our last segment, and when we come back, we'll say our goodbyes. And if you're at a watch party, it's time to get... I was going to say... that's not a word I can say on the camera. Let's just go. Let's just throw it back to me. Go to me from 1 week ago.
Bueno, vamos a ver qué dicen ya. Actualizan la vaina para el
Last
lanzamiento.
year, Senior Game Director Rich Tyler took to the stage and revealed our plan for 1.0. Now, before we end this year's CitizenCon Direct, we wanted to take a few moments and follow up on that reveal from last year, to do as we've done today and look at the year ahead. So, Rich, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, so we're going to jump right into it. Everybody knows the only constant in game development is change. So I'm going to ask you outright, what's changed about the road to 1.0?
Well, fortunately nothing. It still remains our North Star. The team is busy working towards that goal in the background, and every patch this year has moved us towards that goal. And if you haven't watched the Star Citizen 1.0 presentation from last year, I highly recommend you do so, because everything in it is still relevant as of today.
You mentioned every patch this year has moved us towards that goal, so I want to dig deeper into that. We've done, at this point, 9 releases in this year, more than any year prior. How does each one of these not just sit as their own moment in time, but move us forward on this road to 1.0?
Well, last year I discussed the framework of 1.0, how all those complex systems can tie together. And one of the core aspects of that was the main story, which became the spine of the universe, which brought all of the locations, mission givers,
En resumen, no
guilds, and all the
van a
different
seguir con el
areas
mismo
of the game for the
milestone o
players.
objetivo para la
Now, what I didn't
1.0.
talk about from last year was all of the content that was going to support
En
that
este momento están
framework. Add the flesh to the bones, should we say.
trabajando es en la
That's where
integración de
this
las
year was
diferentes
moving us towards that
mecánicas del
goal.
juego.
If you think about previous
Es
events
que
of
todo
previous
funcione,
years,
digamos,
they've generally been
misiones que tengan
locations
que
that
ver
tie into
con
the verse,
minería,
transient,
con
with taking
howling,
like Siege of
y
Origin
que
or
a su
Zenithal,
vez
added them to the
tengan
game, and then you can move
FPS,
away. And I think with the addition of
naves,
the patches
etcétera. O sea, que
this
todos los
year, when you
sistemas
look at the Hathor facility,
puedan
Onyx
funcionar en
facility,
conjunto.
these are permanent additions to the world that not only have their own story, as when we release them with the patches, but they'll also become points of interest and areas that the larger 1.0 narrative will utilize.
Y están en
Since we
la
launched story, I'm going to stay with this here. Since we launched the PU back in 2015, it's always been this sandbox where players can do what they want. They can bring their own story to the verse, and that'll never change. But how important is it that we also build this concurrent narrative of our own, this crafted experience, if you will, alongside that?
Well, we're trying to create a living, breathing universe, and that includes
Entonces,
both.
ahí ya están hablando de que, bueno, digamos que con todo eso que están implementando, las diferentes misiones, lugares, puntos de interés y todo el asunto es para darle vida, para que no sea simplemente un juego así, un sandbox, donde la gente simplemente, pues acá arenas de la gente simplemente arme cosas de la nada, de solo tierra, sino que hayan actividades y cosas que hayan sentir que el universo está vivo.
We've also been introducing mission content that has fully voiced dialogue and facial animation, which allows us to inject some of the meaning and the why to what you are doing as a player. And I think story is integral to Star Citizen as a connective tissue that ties all of these different complex systems together, because it takes players on that journey throughout the game.
To see this big turn this year to start injecting story into the verse, I think people are really responding to it. So everybody knows, and you mentioned just now, that this year we changed a whole lot about how we operate and how we release things. How do you think that's gone?
I think it's gone very well. I think if the mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward. That's where this different strategy has allowed us to really take a wider approach. And we also have to remember that Star Citizen is played by tens of thousands of players every day. And while we have lofty future goals, we still have to make decisions right now that make the game fun for the people that are playing it all the time, playing it as their daily game. If you look at previous years, we've had to hold a patch back, we've had to make concessions, mainly due to around a feature may not have been ready or right to go into there.
There were 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months between patches.
Exactly, and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players. I don't think it's good for the development team. I think it's better to have regular cadence of drops. One good example is this year for A Line of Mine. People probably don't know, but A Line of Mine, when you turned on the laser, it was actually supposed to reveal the sandworm Valakar. And I played it, and it didn't hit the quality that I wanted to go into the game. So we changed, and I took it out, and I made that decision alongside Chris and Erin, and we've held that back, and we're going to work on that towards a future patch. But I think definitely the more regular cadences has had the multiple benefits. And like I said, I want to dispel a myth right here, right now. Like, features are still being worked on quite heavily in the background, from radar and scanning in FPS, the new quantum, to inventory, engineering and crafting. And all of those features are going to be coming very, very soon for players to get their hands on. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say that if I was to go back to the start of the year, I would hope that we would have released more features. But I also think every decision we've made this year has been through the lens of making the live experience as stable and as good as possible.
La verdad,
So that's a bit about the year before, and the year before has been. I've said
le
this
está hablando
before,
ahí
I'll
de
say
que
it
hubo
again, I'll say it
muchos
after, I'm gonna say it
features que
right
les
now
ha
again on
tocado
camera. I think
parar y
this has been the best year of
que
Star Citizen
he estado
ever,
mirando
and I'm
y
willing to
ha frenado y cosas así.
look right into the
Pero
camera and say
que
that.
ese enfoque ha
The
logrado de
player
que el juego
numbers
sea
are up, engagement
disfrutable, que
numbers
ya
are
sea
up,
un juego
the
que
length
mucha
of play
gente
sessions are
lo
up,
utilice
bug
como
numbers
del
are
día a
down,
día y no
30K
antes
is
que
gone.
pasaba que
It's been a
tú te
solid
metías
year.
al juego,
Citizen
los
Con
jajajas
isn't
y lo
Citizen Con about talking
abandonabas
about the future. I want
meses
to move us to the
y
future.
esperabas a que
We
se
talked about
rellenara
story,
contenido
we talked
para
about this more
volver a
diegetic,
entrar otra
immersive
vez unas
universe and
horitas de
adding new
jajaja y
systems
vuelve y
and stuff
déjelo.
like this. But where do
Ese
we
cambio
go
de
from
enfoque,
here?
pues sí,
Obviously,
ha
that
hecho
can
que el
change,
juego
but
ya
what
en este momento, o sea, se parezca
are
más a
we
un juego
going
en
to do
desarrollo.
to make this universe seem alive and real and breathing?
I think the biggest thing is to start having that conversation be two-way. So if you think about this year, like you mentioned, we've been having fully voiced NPCs, but a lot of those missions and those NPCs, they're talking to you, they're talking at you.
Right.
You don't get to talk back to them. Now, obviously, you get to interact with them through your actions. You get to go and do their mission, and you get to move that along, and then they talk to you again. But it's a one-way conversation.
We're missing that conversation wheel.
Exactly. The next part would be physical mission givers. That's something that we're going to be working towards very soon.
Está
with
trabajando en
the Tiger
NPCs.
being the first one coming back in the verse. And just to be clear, we will be bringing all the mission givers eventually back, and we want them to be an integral part of the verse and the story that players go and enjoy. We want the locations to be brought to life, and as we mentioned last year, we want to have interactive scenes that you can go and be part of. And obviously the full end goal is towards, you know, to have cinematic stories in the game, and that is what we're going to be pushing towards. Everything we do, every decision we make is through the lens of moving us closer to 1.0. It might sometimes be difficult to see why those decisions have been made at the time they've been made, but rest assured that Star Citizen 1.0 is still our North Star. That's what we're still aiming towards, and that's what we're going to be moving forward with every patch next year as well.
And remembering when mission givers were first introduced, they sometimes became a bottleneck. Is there a role in instancing, which we learned about earlier today? Is there a role for instancing in that, in helping with mission givers?
Yes, partially. It will be one mechanism that will allow us to have players go to their own individual area of the verse, have that conversation, and then go and continue on into the open world environment. So I think that's where, when we look at instancing provides us one tool that allows us to remove that bottleneck and provide a more seamless experience.
Happy you said that, because that's one of our last topics I want to get to, is how we reconcile instancing with the persistent universe. Like, for the last 10 years now, we've been building this giant, seamless, persistent universe where everybody can come in and play together. And it would be easy to have a first instinct reaction to the idea of instancing and say that's antithetical to everything that Star Citizen is. But you mentioned last year these 3 pillars of building Star Citizen in the PU, and I want to know, you said nothing changed, but I want to ask you about this specifically. What are those 3 pillars again, and how does instancing fit within the greater design of Star Citizen?
So the 3 pillars I mentioned last year were open world. That's just like the missions you love today. You can go and play, there's other players there, and you can go and enjoy that together. Then we have instancing, which I'll talk about more, but similar to Municipal Works that we've talked about previously. And then the third pillar was dynamic content, which would be content that's generated by the activities of the players. And I think it's very easy to become myopic around one specific thing when we're talking about it a lot, when it's the next stage of our development. And I think you could reverse it. If we'd have made a game that was all instance, and then I'd come on camera and said, hey guys, we're going to start doing open world, it would be like, oh, is the game changing? Are we doing open world now? Is open world the new North Star that's going to take us this way? And it's not. It's just one more tool that's going to allow us to offer different and dynamic experiences for players to go and engage in. Now, when I talk about instancing isn't always what you'd imagine as a solo instance experience where it's only just you. We're going to have several different versions of instances. Some are going to be closed instances, which will be like the new player experience. We'll be able for you to go in by yourself, for us to teach you the ropes in a safe environment so that you can understand how to play the complex game that we've made. But we'll also have open instances like a cantina or a bar where we might say, hey, we only want 50 people to come in here because we've got mission givers and we've got other NPCs for you to talk
Están hablando
to.
de distanciado, cómo entra en Star Citizen. Están hablando de que va a haber distanciados single player, va a haber distanciados para cooperativo de grupos pequeños, grupos grandes. También va a haber distanciado PvP, donde encuentre pocos o muchos jugadores, o sea que algo completamente maleable.
It allows us to create experiences that are different to the open world experiences that we've already made. And it's not to say that we won't continue our open world development or only do instance content. It's going to be a mix. And like I said, this is one of the pillars that will move us towards 1.0. We will eventually work on dynamic content that will move us towards 1.0. And all three of those pillars will interweave to create the full Star Citizen experience.
All right, so we've hit a lot of the bigger topics, the feature work, engineering, and FPS crafting coming to tech preview soon, stuff like this. We've talked about instancing and how that's going to work within the universe. But I want to ask you this one last big one. It's very easy to say Star Citizen is this kind of game and that kind of game. Those of us who spend our days making it know better. It's an everything game. It's everything we can make it game. It just is. But at the core of this is still spaceships. That life of spaceships. What more can you tell us about spaceship gameplay in the future? What can you give us? What can you tee up for us to look forward to for those of us who are really into Star Citizen for the spaceships?
Our intentions going forward are to make sure that every ship or ship archetype that you acquire has a role and has content that you can go and enjoy in the universe. For example, right now I know that we're working on more robust mining missions, more robust salvage missions. We're going to be working on refueling missions. And we want to make sure that each and every one of the ship has a purpose and has a reason to exist in the game. That's
trabajando para implementar misiones para tanquear,
as well as ground vehicles, all the way up to the large capital ships. We want to give them purpose, and I think it's something that we are absolutely aware of. We want to make sure that we're building that spectrum of content to allow players to go and engage in, and I think 2026 is going to be a very good year for Star Citizen, and I think there's going to be something that's very interesting and something that a lot of people have been waiting for, but rather than me spoil it, I'll let Ian and the team go into the details on that.
He had a twinkle in his eye. Ian, take it away.
Este es el último segmento de la CitizenCon.
So the persistent universe has existed for over 10 years now. During that time, we've created lots of gameplay systems, we've added hundreds of locations, we've added lots of mission activities for different purposes: combat, cargo, mining, salvaging. But for combat ships, the only thing you've been able to do is fight other combat ships. In 2026, this changes. We're going to be delivering a spaceship-focused activity space which incentivizes the use of different gameplay roles. These are going to be scenarios where you're going to have to plan and strategize and create operational tactics to overcome your objective. So what you're going to see is very early. It's early in the pipeline process, and it's going to come online.
Ojo a esto.
But we're really excited about the content we're creating, so we want to share with you a super early look at what we're building in a space we're calling Tactical Strike Groups.
The People's Alliance are still trying to get to the bottom of what this new faction is really doing in the Nyx system.
They've sent a capital ship to check out a station and run into more than they can take care of themselves.
Unfortunately, that team came under attack and members of their groups were taken hostage. Now they've reached out to Intersec, who've reached out to you to help recover the pilot. Of course, it's unwise to do this alone, so you'll need to put a team together to attack the station.
No, pero qué carajo es ese grupo, por Dios.
Kind of broken asteroid, and on this you will have this space where you will find three big arms. You will see at the middle, you will have this big energy core. Everything here has a purpose. It's not just for the show, just something nice to see.
You'll see a People's Alliance-owned Idris that's just on the outside, and it's going to be getting harassed by this unknown faction that you have met before.
So your first objective here is to clear out the ships. There'll be waves of these ships, so this is where you want your light or your medium or your heavy fighters, whichever playstyle you prefer.
So while one part of your group is dealing with the fighters, now it's time to actually assault the station.
This station has been outfitted to resist all of the obvious way of attacks.
Somehow they've incorporated
Es como una raid, pero con naves.
Turrets. These turrets ignore small fighters, and they have the firepower to destroy even the biggest capital ships.
Your Polaris and your Idris, if you get it close, it will get shredded. The idea of these is so we can sort of make it so we can mix up that ship combat, and not everyone can just bring the biggest ship and win just because they have the biggest ship.
You have to send out your best pilots to navigate the superstructure and take down anything that may damage your bigger ships. So at this point you're thinking, destroy the turrets. But it's not that easy. This turret has shields that you've never seen before. It won't take any kind of damage. Your missiles won't do anything, your lasers won't do anything, your ballistics won't do anything to them. But like everything, they do have a weakness. You have to cut the power to their shields. To do that, that actually brings you to your first objective, the power relays.
Pura misión de Star Wars 4.
Holding the doors closed so that you can't get in.
You have to find them, you have to target them, and you have to destroy them. But it may not be as easy as it seems.
Here's our first wrinkle. The power relays have their own shields that are resistant to energy-based attacks.
We know how much you like using laser repeaters, but so do these guys.
No, es que no está para nada mal. Es la mejor forma de describirlo.
Capital ship can't get close enough because of the turrets.
So ships with explosive or ballistic ordnance will be needed here. That's torpedo ships like your Retaliator or Gladiator, or even another fighter with ballistics loadout. That's going to take you a while.
Entonces hay que llevar naves con bombarderos para poder destruir las cosas de energía para que las torretas no puedan dispararle a las naves grandes.
Yeah, you in your ship flight into the superstructure of this station.
How cool is that?
I feel like this is a proud dad moment. Thank you, Jared.
We're just going to call it what it is. It's a trench run.
Trench run.
Sí, literal Star Wars. Se van a meter ahí. Como la destrucción de la Luna de la Muerte.
There's 3 arms to the station that have these trenches. You'll fly into one, and then there'll be a core in the center, and then you'll move out another trench.
You're either gonna do it multiple times, or you need to bring friends.
At this point, the core is still protected, so these are essentially strafing runs.
There are objects to avoid. You're going to have to be able to dodge. You're going to have to move quickly. You need an agile ship.
because the shield generator that you're targeting is emitting lots of distortion damage.
So once the cooling units are out, that exposes the core to overheat, which means that you can attack it from the inside and also from exhaust ports on the outside of the station.
Sí.
This core is armored and just takes a whole lot of damage.
Bueno, no va a esperar a que vuelen la cosa para largarse de ahí, pues esto ya es
Once
cinemático.
the power core goes down, the turrets come down, and then the capital ships can get closer. Why is that important? Because during all of this, you spend a lot of ammo and munitions and ballistics, and you're going to want to top up.
This is where we're gonna get our new feature in.
No, porque lo que están explicando es que lo que uno destruye dentro de esos túneles tienen como una emisión electromagnética, entonces te va haciendo daño constante. ¿Cuál se llama? El que hacen los NDB. De distorsión, te va haciendo daño de distorsión, entonces te puede apagar la nave ahí si te demoras mucho.
Of course, it'll be more than just those two ships, and you'll find out more once we get closer to release. But this is a really important feature that we're really excited to get out.
If you're not bringing your own Idris, the People's Alliance has a Idris there that can provide a safe port in a storm, allow you to set back up and head back out.
And it's a good thing that you've rearmed and refueled too, because now another group of ships is coming to attack the People's Alliance Idris. So while the fighters are protecting the Idris, what's happening at the station? Well, that's where the dropships come in.
Now you've got to take a fire team in. You've got to
Por fin los dropships van a funcionar.
FPS enemies that
Uy, ya
belong
toca
to
hacer
this
FPS.
unknown faction, and you've got to open a hangar door which will allow you to release captives from the station. After you've opened the doors and that person's taken off, you've just got to make sure they get to safety.
A la Paladin.
All of this sounds pretty simple, but there's an additional complication.
So up until this point, it's just been you versus the enemies in the station. But the enemies in the station have their own enemies.
The Vanduul neighbors who really don't like these guys for some reason will come in and wreak havoc on everything.
And they're not going to discriminate between you and the station. They're out for blood.
No, va a romper más esa.
When you
La Stinger.
alert the Vanduul by destroying the power core that the station's now vulnerable.
Eso sí va a romper de lo lindo.
Vanduul are coming. They're going to come hard. They're going to keep.
Mete a la pala ahí, sí, pero es que tiene la fuerza de una Connie. ¿Qué va a pasar ahí? Uy. La capital de los Vanduul. Ahí acabó.
Tactical strike groups. I'm personally so invested in this. So throughout 2025, we created a variety of content. Some of it was very focused on FPS combat. So personally, driving a more vehicle-based experience was very important to me. This is a defining statement that I want to do in 2026. We're a spaceship game. There are prized possessions.
Va a tocar comprar una. Va a tocar ahorrar entre todos para una Idris.
This is the content
Como
we
mínimo.
want to create, which creates scenarios.
Bájense 1.300.000 cada uno.
We won't get to all roles in this, but we should see this as a landmark, a position where we can see a gameplay space which incentivizes the use of different ships and scenarios to clear objectives and complete missions in a variety of roles. And in the future, we can use this to expand on. So I hope you're all just as excited as I am for tactical strike groups. They're gonna be fantastic.
Bueno, esto es lo más humo que han sacado, pues.
Okay. Why do you still have the puppet? John, come home. All right, so tactical strike groups. You know, it's been a long road for the last 10 years that PU's been around. We've done lots to build stuff for mining ships and for salvage ships, and as Rich said, we're currently building out even more for those. And
No,
of course, refueling
Star City se
missions
tiene
coming up in
rights.
2026. But combat missions. Oh, hi, Aaron Roberts. Aaron Roberts. But finally having enough of the foundation in place that we can begin to build real spaceship operations, in any other MMO they'd call dungeons. It's really exciting for me, and that's why we're ending the show this year with that. So yeah,
Sí,
that's
ese era
been
Chris
CitizenCon
Roberts.
Direct. Thank you for taking the time to share this with us. Again,
Es que apareció al principio.
of what's coming in 2026. I've seen the Twitch chat and the YouTube.
No, fue la versión hace como 10 años.
I promise, we ain't. So before we let you go, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as with every CitizenCon, the last word shouldn't be mine. It should belong to our founders and CEO. So take it away, Chris Roberts.
I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into some of what the team is cooking for the near future. Of course, we're not going to spoil everything that's currently in progress, and many features we haven't discussed today are in active development, like base building, social, and trade tools that are very much a priority. These, along with bringing the final polished features from Squadron 42 into the persistent universe, will make next year the most exciting yet for Star Citizen. Finally, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone at CIG for working so tirelessly and with so much passion to deliver something that is already special and will only get more so as we continue. And of course, to all of you for making all this possible with your support and feedback. We couldn't do this without all of you, something that I and the team appreciate every day. We are very lucky to be allowed the time and the money to build a game of all of our dreams, something that is only more apparent as the video game business becomes more monolithic. We are one of the few large independents left standing, and there is no way we would be allowed to dream as big as we are on an original game and take the time to achieve that dream if we were part or funded by any of the few remaining mega game companies. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the verse this coming year.
Y fin. Bueno, gente, se acabó esto. ¿Alguna apreciación, alguna cosa? Yo creo que estuvo bacano. No hubo tanto humo, lo más humo fue la raid del final. Fue como lo más humo que mostraron. De resto, todo muy tangible. Y nada, cosas fumadas. Son cosas que van a entrar rapidito, pues NITS el mes entrante, viene con bastante actividades, mucho enfoque a minería. Lo de las 3 naves, no sé si entendí mal, pues parece que vienen esta semana, las 3 naves de combate. O me la fumé verde en ese momentico. Bueno, esperemos que saque la gente los resúmenes y cosas así. Confirmamos esa información porque me pareció como fumada. Que la Paladin, la Stinger y la Q3 2.0, que ni supe cómo se llamaba, la verdad. Sale en la semana entrante. Tiene algo de sentido porque es que no son naves que ellos se hayan demorado mucho haciendo, que son todas copias de otra nave excepto la Stinger. O sea, realmente la Stinger es como la más, y eso que se parece a la Blade, es como una Blade gorda, pero más seguido que han estado sacando una nave al mes, que tampoco todavía tiene que trabajarle mucho al juego para solamente dedicársele a las naves, ya cuando el juego esté muy salido. Sí, es una Blade con estero, o sea, realmente las 3 naves no son 100% originales. Entonces, no sería descabellado lo que escuché, pero la verdad, pues, la duda porque es la primera vez que sacan 3 naves de golpe. Ahí están hablando del instanciado. Chévere el tema del instanciado porque eso va para muchas cosas, para las misiones de Horizon.
Eli Abres.
Que se habían perdido en el tiempo. Porque pues misiones que como que antes cerca de la ciudad, la carga técnica, digamos, de sostener todo eso sin que se buguearan las cosas y quedan en NPC. O solamente la interacción, digamos, de que uno quiera hacer la misión y hace poco la haya terminado un grupo de jugadores o cosas así, pues que ya con eso te asegura que cada vez que quieras hacer X misión, pues no te va a interferir que otros la hayan hecho, por ejemplo, cosas así. Entonces, realmente yo dije, espero que no tenga tanto humo y no vi casi humo, o sea, como digo, lo más bestia fue la raid del final. Como dice Enos, es perfectamente llevadera porque pues ya hemos tenido cosas similares que es o sea, a mí la misión más bestia que yo he visto en este juego y he visto en casi cualquier MMO es Hathor. Hathor es lo más bestia que yo haya visto y esto es algo parecido, simplemente que con no, pues yo hubiera querido ver la Merchantman, pero pues bailas, o sea, realmente ellos esta vez quisieron hacer una CitizenCon donde todo fuera muy cercano. O sea, a Star Citizen le pasaba lo mismo que le pasaba a los videojuegos antes. Tú veías el E3, difunto E3, y ahí te mostraban juegos que sin fecha de salida o juegos para dentro de 2-3 años. Entonces, lo que uno dice, puro humo. Y ahora, en la industria, lo que están es, ya el E3 murió, ya están haciendo cosas más pequeñas, y en las cosas más pequeñas están mostrando juegos del año actual y del siguiente, y de ahí no pasan. Entonces a mí me decisión tomaron en CIG, o en Rover Space, como queramos llamarlo, creo que los dos son válidos. Entonces, como el Railing es una nave que no está, digamos, en el horizonte próximo, pues no hablaron de ella. Lo que lleva es que a la fabricación lo dijeron, o sea, los charros que no hablaron de ingeniería, o sea, parecía que estuviera más cerca fabricación que ingeniería, lo cual me parece súper bien, porque es más necesario el crafting que la ingeniería. ¿Por qué lo digo? Porque ellos están en este momento trabajándole duro al tema de la muerte del astronauta. Tú tener ingeniería no te afecta en nada la mecánica de la muerte dentro del juego. Mientras que tener crafting, sí. Nosotros llegamos a hablar un momento. El que a ti te maten y te roben las cosas realmente es más troleo, o sea, que te quieran joder, a que la gente vaya a aprovechar los objetos que uno dejó ahí. ¿Por qué? Porque, digamos, todas las armaduras son iguales, entonces tú una armadura que le reza a un jugador te va a dar el mismo beneficio a una armadura que tú compras en la tienda. En ningún sentido robársela. Lo único es que se la robarías porque es más bonita. O porque es la SDD, es la cosa que se llama, la ligera de Onyx. Es un coñazo conseguirla, entonces lo vas a matar y se la vas a robar. Porque es algo muy difícil de conseguir, pero no es beneficioso. Tú inclusive la vas a guardar porque esa armadura no sirve para nada. Ya con el tema del crafting, pues las armaduras van a ser completamente variadas, todas muy diferentes, según la calidad de materiales, las recetas que tú hayas descubierto y todo el cuento. Pues digamos que la armadura puede quedar muy buena para calor, muy buena para tóxico, muy buena otra cosa, o para varias cosas. Bueno, o sea, van a tener mucha diferenciación. Entonces Cuando tú metes a alguien y miras la armadura, pues tú puedes ver, uy, pues es que esta armadura tiene esto y esto, y es una armadura que tú vas a querer usar realmente. No se la vas a robar por trolear al man, sino porque realmente es útil para ti. Y él, el jugador pues que perdió la armadura, pues simplemente vuelve y la craftea. Entonces, perdió créditos, materiales y un poquito de tiempo. Eso es algo, digamos, perfectamente manejable. O sea, porque inclusive cuando yo crafteo una armadura, pues yo puedo llegar y craftear de una vez 2, 3, 4, 5 para tener los repuestos de una vez y seguir jugando. Mientras que, digamos, en la otra ocasión, pues como simplemente estamos hablando actualmente, Star Citizen es más bien como un juego fashion en el tema de armaduras. Pues, y ese fashion no se compra, sino que te toca es buscarlo. Si tú quieres una armadura bonita, te toca pues ponerte pues en la tarea de hacer actividades, lootear y cosas así hasta que el porcentaje, o sea, la suerte te caiga y te caiga la armadura que tú quieres. Entonces realmente uno pierde mucho más tiempo. Digamos que la incertidumbre de que te dropeen una armadura que tú quieras, simplemente tú dices, bueno, perdí esta armadura, para esta armadura yo tengo que minar esto, tengo que ir a cazar estos bichos y tengo que refinar tal cosa y con eso ya recupero la armadura. Entonces tú puedes, digamos, cuando vayas a hacer esas actividades, porque uno se cansa del FPS, se cansa de dar bala en la navecita, si quieres hacer cosas más tranquilas, pues llegas y lo que haces es, voy a farmear esas cosas y farmeo como para 10 armaduras, yo qué sé, ¿cierto? O sea, tú puedes empezar a generar tu propio stock de materiales para el crafteo. Y eso hace que pues tú realmente cada vez que te mate no tengas que ir a buscar armaduras, ¿no? Simplemente ya tienes material y tú ya sabes que esa armadura la puedes perder y ya. Ajá. Entonces, entonces ahí yo sí diría que lo maten a uno y le quiten todo. Y ahí ya se resuelve el tema. Realmente ahí de raíz se resuelve el tema de darle trabajo a los de medicina, pues a los paramédicos. Haces un sync económico, o sea, haces que la gente esté constantemente gastando plata. Ese es un tema que tiene que resolver Star Citizen urgente, que es el tema de la economía, porque pues, uno no gasta plata en casi nada. Tiene que resolver, digamos que parte de eso es la muerte del astronauta y la otra parte es el tema de los seguros. Tiene que trabajarle a los seguros. Cuando tú compres una nave, pidas el seguro una nave y la nave te llegue sin municiones, hay un control de economía muy bravo, porque de los que les gusta tirar misiles, pues de entrada pides el seguro, la nave va a estar vacía, te toca comprar los misiles, te toca gastártele, digamos, una Polaris casi 1 millón de créditos, a una nave común y corriente, una Connie son como 200.000 solamente en misiles. Entonces ahí se empieza la economía, porque es que el juego falta en tener sistemas que lo obliguen a uno a gastar plata. Porque pues las naves uno, digamos que al cabo de 5 años uno termina comprándolas todas. Pues si quiere comprarlas todas. Cada torpedo de la Polaris vale 500k. Te imaginas cuánto vale rellenar una Polaris. Un dineral. Pero ¿qué hace la gente? La estrello, me espero la hora que creo que es que se demora cuando la pides acelerada y listo. Y la tengo ya con todos los torpedos. Y no me valió la millonada que me iba a valer. Entonces, vemos que ahí están andando y caminando hacia ese momento. Donde morir duela. Pero no duela tanto como para uno dejar jugar. Pero sí como para que uno, digamos, se tome la muerte en serio, porque en este momento es un chiste la muerte del astronauta. En este momento la muerte del astronauta es un teleport. La destrucción de las naves es simplemente un restock de naves y ya. Entonces, no están cumpliendo las funciones. Pero bueno, dejemos así, que mañana tengo también un stream larguito y guardar la voz. Ya acabó esto. Estuvo muy buena, la verdad. 1000 veces mejor que la del año pasado, porque el año pasado mucha información interesante, pues cosas que uno babeaba, pero cero tangible. Cero tangible, eran bocetos, ni siquiera en video, ni nada. El Génesis está brutal. Me quedó la duda es cómo van a, o sea, cuál va a ser, porque están hablando de la flora de los planetas, pero no hablaron de la fauna de los planetas, entonces ahí como en el aire. Igual eso no, yo no le dan como mucha prioridad por el momento a eso, pero sí sería chévere uno andar por ahí, ver como pasa ahora, que hay vaquitas, pero a los 1000 kilómetros hay perritos y unos pajaritos y ya, pero súper, o sea, se ven muy de vez en cuando. Bueno, las potas, me imagino que ellos van a ir a poner a que se cree todo. Entonces ahí entraría una profesión que realmente creo que no está en el juego, que es forrajear. Aunque creo que tú sí puedes coger maticas. Creo que uno sí coge como matica o así, pero no tiene ninguna utilidad. Entonces ahí podrían empezar. Entonces va a haber gente que se especialice, digamos, en rastrear matas y cosas así. O sea, ahí sí le dan mucho más vida al no estar visitando los planetas, no a puntos de interés, sino a cualquier lugar. Porque realmente los que exploran los planetas, los únicos que realmente exploran los planetas son los mineros. De resto no hay como mucho interés en hacerlo, pues, entre comillas, porque pues, por ejemplo, yo cuando me ponía en la tarea, o sea, cuando yo disfrutaba del sandbox y no me metí, digamos, las tareas de quiero conseguir esto, o sea, los objetivos, sino que andaba como agente libre, y si me iba por los planetas a explorarlos bastante, pues encontré varios asentamientos que realmente no tenían gran cosa, excepto uno que sí tenía los P6. Pero inclusive en los P6 había algo más interesante porque había una nave que se había estrellado en una montaña y había un cráter y como que la montaña era hueca y toda la nave se esparció dentro de la montaña. Entonces uno podía entrar y bajaba y bajaba y bajaba, sino que como que era trabajo inconcluso y llegó un momento en que si uno se caía por X ladito, llegabas a un lugar donde no podía salir. Y regresar a ese lugar era un coñazo completo. Pero uno encuentra ese tipo de lugares. Entonces, digamos que explorar todavía vale la pena, sino que es que uno de esos lugares realmente no llega a nada. Porque realmente matabas 6 soldaditos y se acaba la cosa. Y empezaba a lootear lo que logras de Crota. Y realmente en el lugar, como te digo, lo único importante eran los 2 rifles P6. De resto no había nada que uno dijera tengo que volver a terminar de lootear o algo así, no. Entonces ya sí se abriría un poquito más la exploración porque pues ya tocaría buscar maticas, tocaría buscar animalitos como pasa con la primera misión de Wikelo, que lo obliga a uno a buscar una especie puntual de animales y cazarlos. Entonces sería bueno que activaran más fuerte ese tema para que lo obliguen a uno a cazar más. Después, no, pues, cosa pinta muy bien, la verdad. Top 1 en MMO, definitivamente. Sin estar resuelto. De pronto ahorita entro y se los busco. Bueno, gente, muchísimas gracias a los que acompañaron. Ahí tuvimos esta tarde, estuvo chévere. Muy buena CityCon. A esperar el mes entrante a visitar NITS. Y bueno, nos vamos felices al verso. Suere.